Let us begin here, together, in this quiet hour. Before we begin, feel free to share what time it is and where you are listening from. If you can, settle yourself now. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Unclench your jaw. Let your hands rest open, palms up or palms down, whichever feels more natural, more surrendered. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it go, gently through your mouth. Again, breathe in the presence of God and breathe out all that you have carried today. There is no rush here. There is no urgency. You have arrived at a threshold, a gentle threshold, where time softens and the noise of the world grows distant. This is a space for your soul to rest, for your spirit to be still, for your heart to open like a flower in the first light of morning. God is here with you, not in a distant heaven, not in some far-off place you must strive to reach, but here, now, in the quiet of this moment. His presence is as close as your next breath, as near as the beating of your own heart. And so we begin, not with noise but with silence, not with answers but with listening, not with doing but with being. Be still, be held, be loved. The Lord is near to all who call on Him, to all who call on Him in truth. And tonight, dear one, you are calling. Even in your weariness, even in your questions, even in your silence, you are calling, and He hears you. So let us walk together now, slowly, gently, into one of the most beautiful and tender stories ever told. A story that has echoed through the ages, across centuries and cultures, across languages and lands. A story that speaks not with thunder, but with whisper. Not with the fanfare of kings, but with the faithfulness of the forgotten. Tonight, we turn our gaze to the book of Ruth, a story of loyalty that runs deeper than bloodline. A story of faith that does not shout, but simply shows up, day after quiet day. A story of quiet strength, the kind of strength that does not conquer armies, but conquers despair. The kind of strength that does not break down walls, but builds up hearts. This is not a story of miracles in the loud sense. There are no seas parted here, no walls of Jericho tumbling down, no fire from heaven. And yet, it is a story soaked through with the miraculous, because the quietest miracles are often the most profound. The miracle of a choice made in love. The miracle of one foot placed in front of the other when the road ahead is uncertain. The miracle of presence, of simply staying, when everything in you wants to leave. Ruth's story is a love story, yes, but not only in the romantic sense. It is a love story between a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law, between a foreigner and a people not her own, between a widow and a God she barely knew. And ultimately, it is a love story between God and His people, written in the smallest of gestures, in the humblest of moments, in the faithfulness of ordinary days. So breathe again, beloved. Let the weight of your own story rest for a moment. Let go of the questions that have no answers yet. Let go of the striving, the searching, the endless effort to make sense of everything. For the next hours, we will walk slowly through this story together. We will sit with it. We will listen to it. We will let it speak to the tender places in our own hearts, the places where we too have felt like strangers, like widows, like wanderers far from home. And perhaps, in the stillness, we will hear what Ruth heard. We will see what Ruth saw. We will come to know what Ruth knew, that God is faithful, even when the road is long, that love is stronger than loss, that hope, like a seed planted in the dark earth, will one day break through into the light. So come, walk with me now into the barley fields of Bethlehem. into the grief and the grace of this ancient story, into the arms of a God who writes redemption in the most unexpected places. Let us begin. The book of Ruth opens not with triumph, but with tragedy. In the days when the judges ruled, it begins, there was a famine in the land. Already we are meant to feel the weight of this. The days when the judges ruled were chaotic days, unstable days, days when everyone did what was right in their own eyes, and there was no king in Israel. Days when the people wandered far from God, again and again, falling into the same patterns of forgetfulness and rebellion, of crying out and being saved, only to forget again. And now, famine. Famine is a strange kind of suffering. It is slow, it is creeping. It does not announce itself with sudden violence. It simply arrives. The rains do not come, the soil dries, the crops wither, and day by day the hunger deepens. Famine in the land of Bethlehem no less, Bethlehem whose very name means house of bread. The irony is not lost on us. The house of bread has no bread. The place meant to overflow with sustenance is now barren, empty, aching. This is where our story begins, with emptiness. And so a man named Elimelech, whose name means my God is king, makes a choice. He takes his wife, Naomi, and his 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion, and they leave. They leave the land of promise. They leave Bethlehem, Judah, the place where God's people are meant to dwell, and they go to Moab. Moab, a foreign land, a land outside the covenant, a land of other gods. We do not know what was in Elimelech's heart when he made this choice. Perhaps it seemed reasonable, practical, necessary even. His family was hungry, his children were in danger, and so he went where there was food. But sometimes what seems like survival is actually a slow turning away. Sometimes when we leave the place God has called us to, even when that place is hard, even when it is empty, we lose something we did not mean to lose. Elimelech dies in Moab. We are not told how. We are not told when. We are only told that he died and Naomi was left, a widow in a foreign land. But her sons remain, Mahlon and Chilion, and they do what many do when they are far from home. They put down roots. They take wives. 2 Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth. For 10 years they live this way. 10 years is a long time. Long enough to build a life, long enough to grow familiar, long enough to hope that perhaps this could be home. But then death comes again. Mahlon dies, Chilion dies, both sons gone. And now Naomi is not only a widow, she is a woman who has buried her husband and both of her sons. She is emptied out, hollowed by grief, a woman who has lost not only her present, but her future. In that ancient world, a widow with no sons had no security, no provision, no hope. She was vulnerable in every way, and Naomi, far from her homeland, far from her people, has become the picture of utter desolation. Can you sit with that for a moment? Can you let yourself feel the weight of it? There are seasons in life when everything is taken, when the losses pile up, one after another, until you can hardly breathe beneath the weight of them. When the future you imagine disappears like smoke, when the people you loved are gone, and you are left standing in a foreign land far from home, wondering how you got here and how you will ever find your way back. Naomi knows this, she lives this, and in her grief she hears news. Word comes to her there in Moab that the Lord has visited his people and given them food. The famine is over in Bethlehem. The house of bread has bread again. And so Naomi makes a choice. She will go back to Judah, back to Bethlehem, back to the land of her people, even though she has nothing to return to. No husband, no sons, no future. But she will go home. And her daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, they begin the journey with her. These two Moabite women, who have also lost their husbands, who have also been widowed young, they start down the road with Naomi. But Naomi stops them. Picture this: 3 women on a dusty road, 3 widows walking toward an uncertain future. And Naomi, in her grief, in her emptiness, turns to these 2 young women and says, "Go back, she says, each of you to your mother's house. May the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find rest, each of you in the house of her husband." She kisses them. She blesses them. And they lift up their voices and weep. This is love, you see. This is a kind of love we do not often speak of. The love that lets go. The love that does not cling, does not demand, does not hold another to a promise that no longer serves them. Naomi knows she has nothing to offer these women. No future, no security, no hope of sons for them to marry. She is going back to Bethlehem as an empty, broken woman, and she does not want them to tie their fate to hers. So she tells them, "Go back." And Orpah, after weeping, after kissing her mother-in-law, turns. She goes back to her people, to her gods, to the life she knew before. And we do not judge her for this. The text does not condemn her. She is young. She has her whole life ahead of her. It is reasonable for her to go. But Ruth does not go. Ruth clings to Naomi. And when Naomi says again, "See, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law," Ruth speaks. And what she speaks is one of the most beautiful declarations of loyalty ever uttered. "Do not urge me to leave you or to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts me from you." Breathe that in, beloved. Ruth is not speaking out of obligation. She's not bound by law or duty. She is a Moabite. She could go home. She could return to her mother's house, to her people, to her gods. No one would fault her. But she chooses Naomi. She chooses loyalty. She chooses love. And in choosing Naomi, she chooses Naomi's God. This is not a casual choice. This is covenant language. This is the language of marriage, of vow, of binding oneself to another in a way that only death can sever. Ruth is saying, "I will not leave you. I will not turn back. Your future is my future. Your people are my people. Your God is my God. And wherever this road leads, I will walk it with you." And Naomi, seeing that Ruth is determined, says no more. She stops urging. She stops trying to send Ruth away. And together, these 2 women, one old, one young, one empty, one faithful, walk the long road back to Bethlehem. Imagine that journey for a moment, the heat of the sun on the dusty road, the ache in their legs, the silence perhaps between them, the uncertainty, the grief that travels with them like a shadow. Naomi is returning to a place she once knew, but she is not the same woman who left. She left full, with a husband and 2 sons. She returns empty, with only this foreign daughter-in-law, who has bound her fate to hers. And Ruth is walking into a land she has never known, among a people who will see her as an outsider, a foreigner, a Moabite. She is leaving behind everything familiar, everything safe, and stepping into the unknown. But she does not walk alone. She walks with Naomi, and she walks, whether she fully knows it yet, with the God of Israel. They arrive in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Timing, beloved. Always God's timing. They do not arrive in the dead of winter, in famine, in lack. They arrive when the fields are full, when the harvest is beginning, when provision, though they do not yet see it, is all around them, and the whole town is stirred because of them. The women of the town say, "Is this Naomi? Is this the woman who left? Is this the one who went away full?" And Naomi, in her bitterness, in her grief, says, "Do not call me Naomi," which means pleasant. "Call me Mara," which means bitter. For the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi when the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has brought calamity upon me? This is honest grief, beloved. This is raw lament. Naomi does not hide behind polite words or spiritual platitudes. She names what she feels. She calls herself bitter. She says out loud that God has brought her back empty. And perhaps you know what this feels like. Perhaps you, too, have walked through seasons where it seemed that God had emptied you out, where you went away with so much hope, so much promise, so many dreams, and you came back with nothing but loss and questions. If that is where you are tonight, know that God does not turn away from your honesty. He does not flinch at your lament. He is near to the brokenhearted. He dwells with those who are crushed in spirit. Naomi's bitterness is not the end of her story, but it is where she is in this moment, and God meets her there. And beside her, quietly, stands Ruth. Ruth, who has not spoken since her vow on the road. Ruth, who is now in a foreign land, surrounded by foreign people, hearing a foreign language, watching her mother-in-law be consumed by grief. But Ruth has made her choice, and she does not waver. Let us pause here, just for a moment, and breathe. There is something profoundly sacred about presence. Ruth does not try to fix Naomi's grief. She does not offer empty comfort or cheerful words meant to hurry her through the pain. She does not say, "Look on the bright side," or "God has a plan," or any of the things we sometimes say when we do not know how to sit with another person's sorrow. Ruth simply stays. She is present. She is faithful. She is there. And sometimes, beloved, this is the most holy thing we can offer one another. Not solutions, not answers, not even hope necessarily, just presence. Just the quiet commitment to remain, to not turn away, to walk alongside someone, even when the road is dark and the destination is uncertain. Ruth embodies a kind of love that our world often overlooks. A love that is not flashy or dramatic. A love that does not demand recognition or applause. A love that simply shows up, day after day, in the small and faithful acts of staying. This is the love that God Himself shows us, isn't it? He does not always remove our suffering. He does not always answer our questions. He does not always part the seas or send fire from heaven. But He stays. He remains. He is Emmanuel, God with us, present in the darkness, present in the waiting, present in the grief. And Ruth, in her quiet faithfulness, reflects this divine love. She becomes a living icon of steadfast presence. So Naomi and Ruth settle in Bethlehem. But settling in does not mean they are settled. They are two widows with no means of support, no inheritance, no provision. They are vulnerable. They are at the mercy of the community, of the culture, of the systems in place for those who have nothing. And yet, here is where we begin to see the faithfulness of God woven into the fabric of the law. Because in the law of Moses, God had made provision for the poor, for the widow, for the foreigner, for the sojourner. He had commanded that when the fields were harvested, the edges were not to be reaped clean. The corners of the field, the grain that fell to the ground, the gleanings, these were to be left for those who had nothing. This was not charity in the way we often think of it, a handout, something given begrudgingly, something that makes the recipient feel small. No, this was dignity. This was provision built into the rhythm of the harvest. This was God saying, in my economy there is enough, and those who have much are to make space for those who have little. Gleaning was hard work. It required bending, stooping, walking through the fields all day under the hot sun, gathering what had been left behind. It was honest labor, but it was labor that allowed the poor to provide for themselves, to maintain their dignity, to participate in the work of harvest, even when they own no land. And so Ruth says to Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain after him, in whose sight I shall find favor. Let me go, let me work, let me provide for us." Ruth does not sit and wait for someone to rescue them. She does not despair. She does not demand that Naomi take care of her. She steps forward. She takes initiative. She is willing to do the humble, back-breaking work of gleaning in the fields. And Naomi says to her, "Go, my daughter." So Ruth goes, and the text tells us almost casually, she happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was of the clan of Elimelech. She happened to come. Beloved, do you hear that? She happened to come. This is the quiet sovereignty of God. This is providence dressed in the ordinary. Ruth does not know whose field this is. She is a foreigner. She does not know the families, the clans, the connections. She simply goes out and begins to glean, and she happens to come to the field of Boaz. But there are no accidents in God's economy. There are no coincidences in the unfolding of his redemptive plan. What looks like chance is often the gentle hand of God, guiding, directing, orchestrating in ways we cannot see. Ruth does not yet know that Boaz is a relative of her dead father-in-law, Elimelech. She does not yet know that he is a man of standing, a man of wealth, a man of character. She does not yet know that this field, this moment, this encounter, will change everything. She only knows that she must work, she must glean, she must provide, and so she does. Boaz comes from Bethlehem. The text tells us he greets his workers with warmth, with blessing. "The Lord be with you," he says. And they respond, "The Lord bless you." This is not a harsh master. This is not a man who rules by fear or exploitation. This is a man who speaks the language of blessing, who invokes the name of the Lord over his workers, who creates a culture of respect and kindness even in the labor of the harvest. And Boaz notices Ruth. He says to his young man who is overseeing the reapers, "Whose young woman is this?" And the servant answers, "She is the young Moabite woman who came back with Naomi from the country of Moab. She said, 'Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves after the reapers.' So she came, and she has continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest." Do you hear what the servant is saying? He is not just identifying her. He is commending her. She has worked hard. She has been diligent. She has continued from early morning until now. She asked permission. She showed respect. She has done nothing presumptuous, nothing demanding. She has simply worked, faithfully, steadily, humbly. Ruth's character is already speaking, even before she opens her mouth. And Boaz, hearing this, turns to Ruth. He speaks to her directly, and his words are full of kindness. Now, listen, my daughter. Do not go to glean in another field or leave this one, but keep close to my young women. Let your eyes be on the field that they are reaping, and go after them. Have I not charged the young men not to touch you? And when you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men have drawn. Pause here for a moment, beloved, and feel the weight of this kindness. Boaz is offering Ruth protection, safety, provision. He is telling her, stay here. You are safe here. I have commanded the young men not to harm you. Because in that culture, a foreign woman alone in the fields was vulnerable in every way. She could be harassed. She could be taken advantage of. She could be mistreated, and no one would defend her. But Boaz sees her, and he protects her. He also offers her access to the water drawn by his servants. She does not have to bring her own. She does not have to go thirsty. She is welcome to what his household provides. This is grace, beloved. This is unearned, undeserved kindness. Ruth has done nothing to merit this except be faithful, be diligent, be present. And Boaz, seeing her, responds with generosity. Ruth falls on her face, bowing to the ground, and says to him, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? Why? Why would you show me such kindness?" And Boaz answers her, and oh, his answer is beautiful. "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told to me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land, and came to a people that you did not know before. The Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Do you hear it? Boaz has heard her story. He knows what she has done. He knows that she left everything, her family, her home, her people, her gods, to come with Naomi. He knows that she bound herself in loyalty and love to a grieving woman with nothing to offer. He knows that she chose the God of Israel, that she came to take refuge under his wings, and he honors her for it. He blesses her for it. He sees her faithfulness and calls it beautiful. This is the first time in the story that someone speaks directly to Ruth's character, to her choices, to the courage and faithfulness she has shown. And it is a man of God who sees her, a man who recognizes that what she has done is not small, not insignificant, but worthy of honor and blessing. Ruth responds with humility. "I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me and spoken kindly to your servant, though I am not one of your servants." She does not presume. She does not demand. She simply receives the kindness with gratitude. And at mealtime, Boaz invites her to eat with him and his workers. He says, "Come here and eat some bread, and dip your morsel in the wine." She sits beside the reapers, and he passes to her roasted grain, and she eats until she is satisfied, and she has some left over. She is not just tolerated, she is welcomed, she is included, she is fed until she is satisfied, and there is abundance, enough that she can take some back to Naomi. And when she rises to glean again, Boaz commands his young men, "Let her glean even among the sheaves, and do not reproach her, and also pull out some from the bundles for her, and leave it for her to glean, and do not rebuke her." Do you see what he is doing? He is going beyond the law. The law said that the gleanings, the edges of the field, were to be left for the poor. But Boaz commands his workers to intentionally pull out grain from the bundles and leave it for Ruth. He is making sure she has more than enough. He is providing for her abundantly, generously, in a way that allows her to maintain her dignity, while also ensuring that she and Naomi will not go hungry. This is the heart of God, beloved. This is what it looks like when the law is not just followed out of obligation, but fulfilled in love. This is what it looks like when we move beyond mere duty and into the realm of generous, overflowing kindness. Ruth gleans in the field until evening, and when she beats out what she has gleaned, it is about an ephah of barley, roughly 30 pounds, enough to feed her and Naomi for weeks. She carries it back to the city. She shows Naomi what she has gleaned, and she also brings out the food she had left over from the meal and gives it to her. Can you picture Naomi's face? This woman who came back to Bethlehem calling herself bitter, calling herself empty, now seeing her daughter-in-law return with an abundance of grain, with food, with provision beyond what they could have hoped for after one day of gleaning. And Naomi says to her, "Where did you glean today? And where have you worked? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." And Ruth tells her, "The man's name with whom I work today is Boaz." And Naomi's response is immediate, visceral, full of sudden hope. She says, "May he be blessed by the Lord, whose kindness has not forsaken the living or the dead." Do you hear the shift? Just moments ago, Naomi was calling herself Mara, bitter, saying that the Lord had dealt bitterly with her, that he had brought her back empty. But now she is blessing the Lord. Now she is saying, his kindness has not forsaken us, because she is beginning to see. She is beginning to understand. God has not abandoned them. His kindness has been there all along, woven into the ordinary details of their lives, into the provision of the gleaning laws, into the character of Boaz, into the faithfulness of Ruth. And then Naomi tells Ruth something Ruth did not know. The man is a close relative of ours, one of our redeemers. A redeemer. In Hebrew, a goal. A kinsman redeemer. This was a provision in the law of Israel. If a man died and left a widow, and if he had a close male relative, that relative had the right and the responsibility to redeem, to buy back the land, to care for the widow, to preserve the family line. It was a beautiful picture of covenant love, of family taking care of family, of no one being left abandoned or forgotten. Boaz is a kinsman redeemer. He is a relative who has the right to redeem. And suddenly, what seemed like a chance encounter is revealed to be something much more. This is not just kindness. This is the beginning of redemption. Naomi's heart, which had been so heavy, so bitter, begins to stir with hope. Not a loud, triumphant hope. Not yet. But a quiet, fragile hope. The kind of hope that dares to believe that maybe, just maybe, God is still at work. That maybe this story is not over. That maybe there is a future after all. And Ruth continues to glean in the fields of Boaz, staying close to his young women, as Boaz had told her. She works faithfully, day after day, through the barley harvest and the wheat harvest, living with her mother-in-law, providing for them both. And in the quiet rhythm of this work, in the faithfulness of showing up day after day, something is being built, something is being woven together. Provision, yes, but also relationship, also trust, also the slow unfolding of a plan that is bigger than any of them can see. Let us rest here for a moment, beloved. Breathe deeply. Feel the goodness of this. The quiet miracle of provision. The kindness of Boaz. The faithfulness of Ruth. The slow awakening of hope in Naomi's heart. God does not always work with thunder and lightning. He does not always write his will across the sky in letters of fire. Sometimes, most of the time, he works in the ordinary, in the rhythm of the harvest, in the kindness of a stranger who is not really a stranger, in the faithfulness of a woman who simply keeps showing up, keeps working, keeps trusting, even when the future is uncertain. Ruth does not yet know how this story will end. She does not yet know what God is weaving together. She only knows that she must be faithful with today, with this day's work, this day's provision, this day's trust. And that is enough. That is always enough. The weeks pass in a rhythm of work and rest, of gleaning and gathering, of small provisions that add up to survival, to sustenance, to the quietest form of abundance. Ruth goes out each morning to the fields of Boaz. She bends low to gather the grain that has been left for her, that has been intentionally pulled from the bundles and scattered in her path. She works until evening, until her back aches and her hands are rough, and the sun has moved from one edge of the sky to the other. And each evening she returns to Naomi with what she has gathered, and they eat, and they are satisfied, and they give thanks. This is faithfulness in its purest form. Beloved, this is what it looks like to trust God not for the distant future, but for today, for this day's bread, this day's provision, this day's grace. Jesus taught us to pray this way, didn't he? Give us this day our daily bread. Not bread for next week, not bread for next year, but bread for today. Enough for today. Manna in the wilderness, gathered fresh each morning, teaching us that God's provision comes in the rhythm of dependence, of returning to him again and again, of receiving what we need when we need it, and trusting that tomorrow he will provide again. Ruth lives this prayer. She embodies this trust. And Boaz too continues to show kindness. He continues to notice her to ensure that she is safe, that she has what she needs. He does not make a spectacle of his generosity. He does not call attention to himself. He simply ensures that the vulnerable are cared for, that the foreigner is protected, that the gleaner is treated with dignity and respect. In this, Boaz is a picture of something larger than himself. He is a picture of the God who sees the vulnerable, who bends low to care for the forgotten, who makes provision not as an afterthought, but as the very foundation of his law, of his character, of his heart toward the poor and the sojourner and the widow. The harvest comes to an end. The barley is gathered. The wheat is gathered. The fields are cleared. And now, in the quiet that follows the work, Naomi begins to think ahead. She has watched Ruth. She has seen her faithfulness, her diligence, her character. She has seen the way Boaz looks at her, the way he speaks to her, the way he goes out of his way to ensure she is cared for. And Naomi, who knows the law, who knows the custom of the kinsman redeemer, begins to see a path forward. One evening, she speaks to Ruth, and her words are tender, full of care, full of a mother's love for a daughter. My daughter, should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you? Rest. In Hebrew, the word is manoach. It means rest, security, a settled place, a home. It is the same word Naomi used earlier when she blessed Ruth and Orpah, when she sent them back to their mother's houses, praying that they would find rest, each in the house of her husband. But now Naomi is saying it again, not to send Ruth away, but to seek rest for her here, to seek a future for her here, among the people of God, in the land of promise. And Naomi has a plan. It is a bold plan, a risky plan, a plan that requires courage and trust, and a willingness to step into the unknown. She says to Ruth, "Is not Boaz our relative, with whose young women you were? See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Wash therefore, and anoint yourself, and put on your cloak, and go down to the threshing floor. But do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. But when he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." Pause here, beloved. Let us sit with this for a moment. What Naomi is asking Ruth to do is not simple. It is not safe. It is not without risk. The threshing floor at night was a place of vulnerability. It was a place where men slept to guard the grain, to protect it from thieves. It was also, in that culture, a place associated with both work and, sometimes, with promiscuity, with encounters that happened in the dark, away from the watchful eyes of the community. For Ruth to go there, alone, at night, as a woman, as a foreigner, is to put herself in a position of great vulnerability. She is essentially placing herself at Boaz's feet, literally and figuratively, and asking him to be her kinsman redeemer, to take her under his protection, to marry her, and thus provide for her and for Naomi. This is not a light thing. This is not a casual request. This is Ruth once again stepping out in faith, trusting not only Naomi's wisdom, but trusting the character of Boaz, and ultimately trusting the providence of God. And Ruth, hearing Naomi's plan, does not hesitate. She does not question. She does not say, "But what if he rejects me? What if he thinks I'm being improper? What if this goes wrong?" She simply says, "All that you say I will do. All that you say I will do." This is the same Ruth who said, "Where you go, I will go." The same Ruth who bound herself in loyalty to Naomi and to Naomi's God. And now, once again, she is saying yes. Yes to trust. Yes to risk. Yes to stepping forward into the unknown because she believes that God is leading, even when the path is unclear. So Ruth washes. She anoints herself. She puts on her cloak, her best garment, the one that signifies she is not a beggar, not a gleaner, but a woman of worth, a woman with dignity. And she goes down to the threshing floor. She waits in the shadows as Boaz eats and drinks, as he finishes his work for the day, as he lies down beside the heap of grain to sleep, to guard the harvest through the night. And when all is quiet, when he's asleep, Ruth comes softly. She uncovers his feet, a symbolic gesture, a way of saying, "I am placing myself under your protection, under your covering. I am asking you to spread your cloak over me, to take me as your own." And she lies down. Can you imagine her heart in that moment? The pounding of it, the fear, perhaps, the hope, the vulnerability. She is a foreigner in a strange land, and she is lying at the feet of a man she barely knows, trusting that he is the kind of man she believes him to be. This is faith, beloved. This is what it looks like to trust not in your own ability to control the outcome, but to trust in the character of the one to whom you are entrusting yourself. And in the middle of the night, Boaz wakes, perhaps from the cold at his feet, perhaps from some instinct that he is not alone. And he is startled. He says, "Who are you?" And Ruth answers softly, clearly, with all the courage and humility in her heart, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." Spread your wings. The same language Boaz himself used when he blessed her, when he said, May the Lord repay you for what you have done, and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge." Ruth is saying, "You spoke of God's wings, of his protection, of his covering. Now I am asking you to be that covering for me. I am asking you to be the hands and feet of the God under whose wings I have come to take refuge." She is not being presumptuous. She is not being manipulative. She is acting according to the law, according to the provision God himself made for widows like her and like Naomi. She is asking Boaz to fulfill his role as kinsman redeemer, to redeem not just the land, but the people, the family, the future. And Boaz's response is immediate and full of warmth. "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, in that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich." Do you hear what he's saying? He is honoring her. He's saying, you could have pursued any young man. You could have sought security in other ways, but you have shown loyalty to Naomi, to the family, to the covenant. You have honored what is right, what is good, what is faithful. And then he says, "And now, my daughter, do not fear. I will do for you all that you ask. For all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman." A worthy woman. In Hebrew, Eshet Sha'il, a woman of valor, of strength, of noble character. It is the same phrase used in Proverbs chapter 31 to describe the ideal woman, the woman whose worth is far above rubies. Boaz sees Ruth, not as a beggar, not as a foreigner, not as someone to be pitied or merely tolerated. He sees her as a woman of worth, of character, of strength, and he honors her for it. But then Boaz tells her something she did not know. There is a complication, a detail she was unaware of. He says, "Now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I." There is another relative, closer in line than Boaz, who has the first right of redemption. According to the law, that man must be given the opportunity to redeem first. If he chooses not to, then Boaz can step in. But the nearer kinsman must be approached first. Boaz says, "Remain tonight, and in the morning, if he will redeem you, good, let him do it. But if he is not willing to redeem you, then, as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie down until the morning. As the Lord lives, I will redeem you." This is an oath, beloved. This is a promise. Boaz is binding himself to Ruth, saying, "One way or another, you will be redeemed. If the nearer kinsman will not do it, I will. I give you my word. I stake my life on it." And Ruth lies down at his feet until morning. And before the light is full, before anyone can recognize her, Boaz tells her to rise and go, so that no one will know she came to the threshing floor. He does not want her reputation to be tarnished. He does not want anyone to misunderstand or to speak ill of her. And before she goes, he says, "Bring the garment you are wearing and hold it out." She does, and he measures out 6 measures of barley and lays it on her. And she goes into the city. 6 measures of barley, a sign of his commitment, a sign of his provision, a sign that says, "You will not return empty. I am already providing for you even before the redemption is complete." Ruth returns to Naomi, and Naomi asks, "How did you fare, my daughter?" And Ruth tells her everything that happened. She tells her about Boaz's response, about his promise, about the nearer kinsman who must be approached first. And then Ruth says, "He gave me these 6 measures of barley, for he said to me, 'You must not go back empty-handed to your mother-in-law. You must not go back empty-handed. Beloved, do you remember how Naomi described herself when she first returned to Bethlehem? She said, "I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty." But now Ruth is returning to her not empty, but full of grain, full of promise, full of hope. And Naomi, wise Naomi, says to Ruth, "Wait, my daughter, until you learn how the matter turns out. For the man will not rest, but will settle the matter today. Wait, be patient, trust. The man will not rest until this is resolved. And in that waiting, there is a kind of peace, isn't there? Because the matter is no longer in their hands. They have done what they could do. Ruth has stepped forward in faith. Boaz has made his promise. And now they must wait and trust that God will bring it to completion. This is the rhythm of faith, beloved. We step forward when God calls us to step forward. We act when He calls us to act. We take the risk, we make the move, we say yes to what He is asking. And then we wait, we rest, we trust. We let go of our need to control the outcome, and we place it in His hands, knowing that He is faithful, that He will complete the work He has begun, that He will not leave us empty. Boaz goes to the gate of the city. The gate was where the elders sat, where business was conducted, where legal matters were settled. It was the public square, the place of witness, the place where decisions were made, official and binding. And Boaz sits down there. And soon the nearer kinsman, the one who has the first right of redemption, comes by. And Boaz calls to him, "Come over, friend, sit down here." The text does not give us his name. It calls him only so-and-so, a placeholder, a nameless figure. And perhaps there is something intentional in that, because this man, when given the opportunity to participate in the story of redemption, chooses not to, and so his name is forgotten. He becomes a footnote, a so-and-so, while Boaz's name is remembered and honored. Boaz gathers 10 men of the elders of the city as witnesses, and then he speaks to the nearer kinsman. He says, "Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, is selling the parcel of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. So I thought I would tell you of it and say, buy it in the presence of those sitting here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not, tell me that I may know, for there is no one besides you to redeem it, and I come after you." The nearer kinsman considers land, property, and inheritance. This seems like a good deal. He says, "I will redeem it." But then Boaz adds the crucial detail. He says, "The day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the dead, in order to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance." Now the picture changes. This is not just about land. This is about responsibility. This is about taking Ruth as a wife, about raising up children in the name of the dead, children who will inherit the land, who will carry on Elimelech's line. This is about long-term commitment, about sacrifice, about giving up one's own interest for the sake of another. And the nearer kinsman reconsiders. He says, "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I impair my own inheritance. Take my right of redemption yourself, for I cannot redeem it." He cannot. Or perhaps he will not. He sees the cost and decides it is too high. He is unwilling to take the risk, to make the sacrifice, to bind himself to this foreign woman and to the responsibility of raising up heirs for a dead man. And so he removes his sandal and gives it to Boaz, a sign in Israel that he is transferring his right of redemption. And he steps back. He walks away from the story. He remains nameless, forgotten. But Boaz steps forward. Boaz says to the elders and to all the people, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought from the hand of Naomi all that belonged to Elimelech and all that belonged to Chilion and to Mahlon. Also Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, I have bought to be my wife, to perpetuate the name of the dead in his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brothers and from the gate of his native place. You are witnesses this day. I have bought to be my wife. Beloved, let us sit with these words for a moment. Boaz is using the language of redemption. He is buying Ruth, yes, but not in the sense of ownership or possession. He is redeeming her. He is paying the price, taking on the responsibility, binding himself to her in covenant love. And in this, Boaz becomes a living picture of the ultimate Redeemer, of the one who would come generations later, born in this very town of Bethlehem, who would pay the price to redeem not just one woman, but all of humanity, who would buy us back from slavery, from sin, from death, not with silver or gold, but with his own precious blood. Ruth was a foreigner, an outsider, a Moabite with no claim to the promises of Israel. But through Boaz, she is brought in. She is redeemed. She is given a name, a place, a future. And we, beloved, we were also foreigners, strangers to the covenants of promise, without hope and without God in the world. But through Christ, through our kinsman Redeemer, we have been brought near. We have been bought with a price. We have been made part of the family, heirs of the promise, children of God. This is the gospel whispered in the story of Ruth. This is redemption written small in the life of one woman, so that we might see and understand the redemption written large in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. The elders and all the people at the gate respond to Boaz's declaration. They say, "We are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your house like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the house of Israel." Rachel and Leah, the matriarchs, the mothers of the 12 tribes, the women through whom the promise to Abraham flowed. They are blessing Ruth. They are saying, "May she be fruitful. May she build up the house. May she be a mother in Israel." And they add, "May you act worthily in Ephrathah and be renowned in Bethlehem. And may your house be like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah, because of the offspring that the Lord will give you by this young woman." Tamar, another woman on the margins, another woman who took a risk, who acted boldly to secure her place in the line of promise. And from Tamar came Perez, and from Perez came the line that would lead to David, and from David to the Messiah. The people are prophesying, though perhaps they do not fully know it. They are speaking blessing over Ruth and Boaz, and that blessing will echo through generations. So Boaz takes Ruth, and she becomes his wife. And the Lord gives her conception, and she bears a son. The Lord gives her conception. After years of barrenness in her first marriage, after loss and widowhood and grief, after walking along an uncertain road, the Lord opens Ruth's womb. He gives life. He gives hope. He gives a future that seemed impossible. This is the work of God, beloved. This is His gentle hand moving in the most intimate places of our lives. The Lord who sees, the Lord who remembers, the Lord who gives life where there was barrenness, who brings hope where there was despair, who writes new chapters when we thought the story was over. And when the child is born, the women of Bethlehem gather around Naomi. These same women who saw her return, bitter and empty, now see her holding a grandson in her arms. And they say to her, Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer, and may his name be renowned in Israel. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. More to you than 7 sons. In that culture, sons were everything. They were security, inheritance, legacy, provision. 7 was the number of completeness, of perfection. To say that Ruth is more to Naomi than 7 sons is to say that her love, her loyalty, her faithfulness has been worth more than anything the world considers valuable. Ruth, the foreign woman, the Moabite, the one who had nothing to offer except her presence and her faithfulness, has become the most precious gift in Naomi's life. And the women continue, Blessed be the Lord, who has not left you this day without a redeemer. A redeemer, a goal. They are speaking of the child, yes, but they are also speaking of something larger. They are speaking of the work God has done, the provision he has made, the way he has taken what was empty and filled it, what was bitter and made it sweet, what was ending and given it a new beginning. Naomi takes the child and holds him close. She becomes his nurse, his caretaker, pouring into him the love and tenderness that grief had almost stolen from her. And the women of the neighborhood give him a name. They say, A son has been born to Naomi, and they name him Obed, which means servant or worshipper. Obed, a servant, a worshipper, one who will serve the Lord, who will live a life of faithfulness. And here is where the story opens up into something even larger than itself. The text tells us, Obed was the father of Jesse, and Jesse was the father of David. David, the shepherd boy who would become king, the man after God's own heart, the one through whom God would establish his covenant, his kingdom, his promise of an eternal throne. Ruth, the foreigner, the outsider, the Moabite woman, who chose loyalty over comfort, who chose faith over fear, who chose to bind herself to the God of Israel. Ruth becomes the great-grandmother of King David. She enters the lineage of the Messiah. When you turn to the Gospel of Matthew, to the genealogy of Jesus Christ, you find Ruth's name there. In a list dominated by men, by patriarchs and kings, there are a handful of women named, and Ruth is one of them. Matthew writes, Boaz the father of Obed by Ruth, and Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David the king. Ruth is woven into the story of salvation. Her faithfulness, her loyalty, her quiet strength, these become part of the foundation upon which the kingdom is built. And through her line, through the child she bore, through the generations that follow, comes the one who will redeem not just one family, not just one nation, but the entire world. Jesus Christ, the ultimate kinsman redeemer, is a descendant of Ruth. Let that settle in your heart for a moment, beloved. The foreign woman, the outsider, the one who should have been excluded from the covenant, who should have remained on the margins, forgotten and unnoticed. She becomes a grandmother of the Messiah. This is the scandalous grace of God. This is the upside-down kingdom, where the last are first, where the outsider is brought in, where the forgotten are remembered, where the humble are exalted. God does not look at our credentials. He does not measure our worth by our pedigree or our status or our achievements. He looks at the heart. He sees faithfulness. He honors loyalty. He delights in those who choose him, who cling to him, who say, Your God will be my God, and I will follow you wherever you lead. Ruth had no idea that her choice to stay with Naomi would echo through eternity. She had no idea that her faithfulness would be remembered thousands of years later, that her story would be written in Scripture, that her name would be spoken in reverence by generations yet unborn. She was simply faithful with what was in front of her, with today, with this choice, with this step. And God took that faithfulness and wove it into the greatest story ever told. Let us pause here, beloved, and breathe deeply once more. We have walked through the story of Ruth slowly, carefully, letting it sink into our hearts. We have seen her loyalty, her faith, her quiet strength. We have seen the kindness of Boaz, the providence of God, the transformation of Naomi from bitter to blessed. And now, let us reflect on what this story means for us, for you, for me, for the moments we are living, the choices we are facing, the uncertainties we are holding. What does it mean to live with Ruth's kind of faith? It means showing up, day after day, even when the work is hard, even when the future is uncertain, even when you cannot see the end of the story. Ruth did not wake up one morning and find herself suddenly redeemed, suddenly secure, suddenly part of the lineage of kings. No, she walked through months of gleaning in the fields, months of bending low under the hot sun, months of trusting that today's provision was enough, that today's faithfulness mattered, even when she could not see what God was building. Faithfulness is not always dramatic. It is not always visible. It is not always recognized or applauded. Sometimes faithfulness looks like getting out of bed when everything in you wants to stay under the covers. It looks like doing the next right thing, even when you are tired, even when you are grieving, even when you cannot see the point. It looks like gleaning, gathering what has been left for you, working with what you have, trusting that God sees, that God knows, that God is weaving something beautiful even when all you can see is the underside of the tapestry, the tangled threads that make no sense. Ruth trusted the process. She trusted the daily rhythm of work and rest, of sowing and reaping, of showing up and letting God do the rest. And beloved, this is what God asks of us as well. Not that we have everything figured out, not that we can see the whole picture, not that we understand every twist and turn of the story. He asks only that we are faithful with today, that we take the next step, that we do the next right thing, that we trust Him with the outcome. Ruth's story also teaches us about the power of presence. Ruth could have left. She had every reason to leave. She had no legal obligation to stay with Naomi, no cultural expectation, no promise of reward. But she stayed. She stayed because love compelled her, because loyalty bound her, because she had made a choice, spoken a vow, and she would not turn back. And her presence, her simple, faithful presence, changed everything. How often do we underestimate the power of just being there, of staying, of not running when things get hard, of not abandoning people when they are in the valley, when they are calling themselves Mara, when they cannot see any hope. Ruth did not try to fix Naomi. She did not preach at her or tell her to have more faith or to stop being so bitter. She simply stayed. She worked. She provided. She loved. And slowly, slowly, Naomi's heart began to soften. The bitterness began to ease. Hope began to return. Not because Ruth gave her a pep talk, but because Ruth's faithfulness itself was a sermon. Ruth's presence itself was a reminder that she was not alone, that she was loved, that there was still something worth living for. Beloved, never underestimate the ministry of presence. Never underestimate the power of simply staying, of being faithful, of showing up again and again for the people God has placed in your life. You may feel like what you have to offer is small. You may feel like you are just gleaning, just gathering the leftovers, just doing the bare minimum to survive. But God sees, and God is using your faithfulness in ways you cannot see, in ways that reach far beyond what you can imagine. Ruth's story also speaks to the beauty of redemption. Boaz could have followed the letter of the law and done the minimum. He could have allowed Ruth to glean, as the law required, and left it at that. But Boaz went beyond the law. He acted out of kindness, out of generosity, out of a heart that reflected the heart of God. He saw Ruth not as an obligation, but as a person of worth. He protected her. He provided for her abundantly. And ultimately, he redeemed her, not because he had to, but because he wanted to, because he saw her value, because he chose to bind his life to hers in covenant love. This is what our Redeemer has done for us, beloved. Jesus did not redeem us out of obligation. He did not look at us and see a burden, a problem to be solved, a duty to be fulfilled. He looked at us and saw worth. He saw beauty. He saw someone worth dying for. The law said that the kinsman redeemer had the right to redeem. But Jesus went beyond the law. He chose to redeem us at the cost of his own life. He paid the price we could never pay. He took on our sin, our shame, our death, and he gave us his righteousness, his life, his future. And now we are no longer outsiders. We are no longer foreigners, strangers to the covenant. We are brought near. We are given a name. We are made heirs, children of God, part of the family forever. This is the scandal of grace, beloved. This is the upside-down economy of the kingdom. We bring nothing. We contribute nothing. We come empty-handed, like Ruth coming to the threshing floor. And we say, "Spread your wings over me, redeem me. I have nothing to offer but myself." And Jesus says, "That is enough. You are enough. I choose you. I redeem you. You are mine." And finally, Ruth's story reminds us that God is always writing a bigger story than we can see. Ruth had no idea that her choice to stay with Naomi would lead to her becoming the great-grandmother of a king. She had no idea that her name would be written in the genealogy of the Messiah. She had no idea that her story would be told for thousands of years, inspiring countless people to trust God, to be faithful, to stay even when the road is hard. She was just living one day at a time, just gleaning in the field, just loving her mother-in-law, just trusting that God would provide. But God was weaving something magnificent. God was writing a story of redemption that would echo through eternity. And beloved, God is doing the same in your life. You may not be able to see it. You may feel like you are just surviving, just getting through, just taking one small step at a time. But God is weaving. God is writing. God is building something beautiful out of your faithfulness, out of your obedience, out of your willingness to say yes, even when you cannot see the end of the story. Your life matters. Your choices matter. Your faithfulness matters. Not because you are doing something great or impressive or noteworthy in the eyes of the world, but because God is taking your ordinary, everyday faithfulness and weaving it into his extraordinary, eternal purposes. One day, beloved, you will see. One day you will stand in the presence of God and he will show you the tapestry. He will show you how every thread mattered, how every choice counted, how every act of faithfulness was woven into something more beautiful than you could have ever imagined. And you will see that nothing was wasted. Nothing was lost. Every tear, every struggle, every moment of trusting, when you could not see, it all mattered. It all meant something. It was all part of the story God was writing. So what do we do with this story? How do we live in light of Ruth's example? We choose loyalty. We choose faithfulness. We choose to stay when everything in us wants to run. We choose to show up day after day, even when the work is hard, even when we cannot see the fruit, even when it feels like we are just gleaning, just gathering the leftovers. We choose to trust that God is providing, that He is present, that He is weaving something beautiful even when all we can see is the tangled underside of the tapestry. We choose to believe that our kinsman Redeemer has already paid the price, that we are already loved, that we are already brought in, that we belong to Him, and nothing can separate us from His love. And we choose to live with hope, not the kind of hope that is based on our circumstances, but the kind of hope that is rooted in the character of God, the kind of hope that knows that He is faithful, that He finishes what He starts, that He works all things together for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. This is the hope that sustained Ruth. This is the hope that transformed Naomi from bitter to blessed. This is the hope that sustained Boaz as he stepped forward to redeem. And this is the hope that sustains us still, beloved. The hope that God is not done with our story. The hope that He is still writing, still weaving, still redeeming. The hope that one day we will see the fullness of what He has been doing along. Let us sit for a moment in the quiet. Beloved, let us allow the story of Ruth to settle deeper into the soil of our hearts. Like seed planted in good ground, may it take root. May it grow. May it bear fruit in ways we cannot yet see. There is a gentleness to Ruth's story that mirrors the gentleness of God Himself. It is not a story of conquest or of empire. It is not a story of loud proclamations or miraculous signs written across the sky. It is a story told in whispers, in the rustle of barley stalks, in the quiet conversations between two women at the end of a long day, in the faithfulness of small, ordinary choices made again and again. This is how God so often works, isn't it? We look for Him in the earthquake, in the fire, in the wind. But He comes to us in the still, small voice. He meets us in the ordinary rhythms of our days, in the bread we eat, in the work of our hands, in the presence of people who stay when everyone else has left. God is not absent from the mundane. He is woven through it. He sanctifies it. He makes it holy. Ruth's life was not filled with dramatic encounters with the divine. She did not see angels. She did not hear God's voice speaking audibly from heaven. She did not perform miracles or lead armies or prophesy to nations. She simply gleaned. She simply stayed. She simply loved. And yet her life became a living testimony to the faithfulness of God. Her story became a signpost pointing toward the ultimate Redeemer who would one day be born in the same fields where she gathered grain. This should encourage us deeply, beloved, because most of us will never do anything that the world considers remarkable. Most of us will live quiet lives, known by few, forgotten by many. Our days will be filled with ordinary work, ordinary relationships, ordinary struggles and joys. But in the economy of God, nothing is ordinary. Every act of faithfulness, every choice to love when it would be easier to leave, every decision to trust when we cannot see, these are the building blocks of the kingdom. These are the threads God weaves into His great tapestry of redemption. Your faithfulness matters. Your presence matters. Your love matters. Not because you are doing something impressive, but because God is with you in it, because God is working through it, because God is using your ordinary, everyday obedience to accomplish purposes that reach far beyond what you can see. Let us think more deeply now about what it means to take refuge under the wings of God, as Ruth did. Boaz spoke this blessing over Ruth when he first met her. He said, "May the Lord repay you for what you have done. and a full reward be given you by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. Under whose wings? The image is tender, protective, maternal even, like a mother bird sheltering her young beneath her wings, like a hen gathering her chicks when danger approaches. Jesus used this same image. Do you remember? When he wept over Jerusalem, he said, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often would I have gathered your children together, as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing." God longs to shelter us, to protect us, to gather us close, but he does not force us. He invites us. He offers his wings as refuge, and we must choose to come. Ruth chose to come. She left behind the gods of Moab, the familiar rituals, the old ways of understanding the world, and she stepped into the unknown, trusting that the God of Israel, the God she barely knew, would be her refuge. This is what it means to have faith, beloved. It means choosing to take refuge in God, even when you do not have all the answers, even when you cannot see the path ahead clearly, even when everything in your circumstances suggests that it would be safer, more reasonable, more practical to turn back. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty. Faith is choosing to run toward God when you are afraid, when you are uncertain, when everything is falling apart. Faith is saying, "I do not know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. I do not know how this story ends, but I know the author. I do not know if I am strong enough for this journey, but I know that he is." Ruth did not know that Boaz would notice her. She did not know that provision would be made. She did not know that redemption was waiting for her in the barley fields of Bethlehem. She only knew that she had chosen the God of Israel, and she would trust him, come what may. And beloved, he proved faithful. He always does. When we take refuge under his wings, when we choose to trust him even when the road is dark and uncertain, he does not disappoint. He may not work in the way we expect. He may not answer our prayers in the timeline we would choose, but he is always faithful. He is always good. He is always working for our redemption. There is also something powerful in the way Ruth's story intersects with the harvest. She arrives in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Her entire story unfolds in the rhythm of the agricultural calendar. Barley harvest, then wheat harvest, then the winnowing at the threshing floor. The harvest is a biblical image rich with meaning. It speaks of reaping what has been sown. It speaks of the fullness of time, of waiting, and then gathering, of patience, and then abundance. Jesus spoke often in harvest language. He said, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few." He told parables about seeds and soil, about wheat and weeds growing together, about the great harvest at the end of the age when everything will be sorted, when every seed will bear its true fruit. Ruth's story takes place in this context of harvest, and it reminds us that God's timing is tied to seasons, to rhythms that cannot be rushed. There is a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to sow in tears and a time to reap with joy, a time to wait in the darkness of winter and a time to gather in the abundance of summer. Ruth arrived in Bethlehem at exactly the right moment. Not a moment too early, not a moment too late. The famine had ended. The barley was ready. Boaz was in the fields. Everything was aligned, though she could not have known it when she took those first uncertain steps down the road from Moab. And beloved, the same is true for you. God's timing in your life is perfect. You may not be able to see it yet. You may be in a season that feels like winter, like famine, like waiting that will never end. But the harvest is coming. The barley is growing even now, even when you cannot see it. The soil is doing its work beneath the surface. And when the time is right, when the season turns, you will see the fruit of the seeds you have sown in faithfulness. Do not despair in the waiting, beloved. Do not lose heart in the winter. Spring always comes. Harvest always follows planting. God's promises do not fail. Ruth gleaned through the entire barley harvest and the wheat harvest. Week after week, day after day. She did not grow weary in doing good. She did not give up. She simply kept showing up, kept working, kept trusting. And at the end of the harvest season, redemption came. Trust the process, beloved. Trust the rhythm. Trust the seasons. God knows what He is doing, and He will bring you to harvest in His perfect timing. Let us also reflect on the character of Boaz more deeply, for he is such a beautiful picture of Christ, our Redeemer. Boaz was a man of standing, a man of wealth, a man of influence in Bethlehem. He had every reason to ignore Ruth, to look past her, to see her as just another gleaner in his fields. But he noticed her. He saw her. He asked about her. And when he learned who she was, when he heard her story, he did not turn away. He did not see her foreignness as a barrier. He did not see her poverty as a problem. He saw her character. He saw her faithfulness. He saw her worth. And he went out of his way to protect her, to provide for her, to honor her. This is what Jesus does for us, beloved. He sees us, not as problems to be solved, not as projects to be fixed, but as people of infinite worth, people He loves, people He chooses to redeem. Jesus is our kinsman redeemer. He became one of us, taking on human flesh, entering into our story so that He could redeem us from the inside. He became our kinsman, our brother, our family, and then He paid the price we could never pay. He took our place. He bore our sin. He died our death so that we could be redeemed, so that we could be brought into the family, so that we could have a future and a hope. Boaz said to Ruth, "As the Lord lives, I will redeem you." It was a promise, an oath, a commitment, and Jesus says the same to us. I will redeem you. I have redeemed you. You are mine, and nothing can snatch you out of my hand. This is the security we have in Christ, beloved. This is the foundation on which we stand. Not our own worthiness, not our own efforts, not our own righteousness, but His work, His sacrifice, His perfect, finished, complete redemption. We are like Ruth, coming to the threshing floor with nothing to offer except ourselves, our need, our vulnerability. And Jesus spreads His cloak over us. He covers us. He says, "You are mine. I will take care of you. I will redeem you. You belong to me." And that changes everything. Boaz also shows us what it looks like to live generously, to go beyond the letter of the law into the spirit of love. The law said that gleanings were to be left for the poor. Boaz could have done just that, allowed Ruth to glean what was left and nothing more. He would have fulfilled his legal obligation. But Boaz went further. He told his workers to pull grain from the bundles and leave it for Ruth, to intentionally ensure that she had more than enough, to provide for her abundantly, generously, with grace upon grace. This is the heart of God, beloved. God does not give us the bare minimum. He does not meet our needs grudgingly, checking off a list of obligations. He gives abundantly. He pours out blessing. He goes beyond what is required and enters into the realm of extravagant love. Jesus said, "I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." Not just life, but abundant life, overflowing life, life that spills over, that cannot be contained, that fills us up and runs over into the lives of those around us. This is what Boaz did for Ruth. He gave her abundant provision. And this is what Jesus does for us. He gives us abundant grace, abundant mercy, abundant love. We serve a God who is not stingy. We serve a God who does not measure out his kindness in tiny portions, making sure we do not get more than we deserve. We serve a God who loves to give, who delights in blessing his children, who takes joy in providing for us, in surprising us with goodness, in going far beyond what we could ask or imagine. And when we have received this kind of generous love, when we have been blessed with this kind of extravagant grace, it changes how we live. It makes us generous people. It makes us people who go beyond the minimum, who look for ways to bless others, who pull grain from our bundles and leave it for those who are gleaning. This is the rhythm of the kingdom, beloved. We receive freely from God and we give freely to others. We are blessed so that we can be a blessing. We are loved so that we can love. We are given grace upon grace so that we can extend grace upon grace. Let us turn now to consider Naomi's journey more deeply, because Naomi's transformation is one of the most beautiful parts of this story. Naomi began bitter. She began empty. She began calling herself Mara and saying that God had dealt harshly with her, that he had brought her back with nothing. And in one sense, she was right. She had lost so much. Her grief was real. Her pain was valid. The weight of her losses was not something to be minimized or dismissed. But what Naomi could not see in that moment was that God had not abandoned her. He had not forgotten her. He had not left her truly empty. She had Ruth. And Ruth, though Naomi did not yet realize it, was worth more than 7 sons. Sometimes, beloved, we are so focused on what we have lost that we cannot see what we still have. We are so consumed by the emptiness that we cannot recognize the gifts that remain. Naomi could only see the absence of her husband and her sons. She could not yet see the presence of Ruth, the faithfulness of this daughter-in-law who had bound her life to Naomi's, who had chosen to walk this road with her, who would not leave her alone. But slowly, as the story unfolds, Naomi begins to see. She begins to recognize God's hand at work. She begins to move from bitterness to hope, from emptiness to fullness, from despair to joy. This transformation does not happen overnight. It happens gradually, through the faithfulness of Ruth, through the kindness of Boaz, through the quiet, steady provision of God day after day. And by the end of the story, when Naomi holds her grandson in her arms, when the women of Bethlehem declare that she has a redeemer, that Ruth is worth more than 7 sons, Naomi is no longer calling herself Mara. She is blessed. She is full. She is restored. This is the journey that grief takes, beloved. It does not move in a straight line from pain to healing. It winds. It circles back. It has seasons of darkness and seasons of light. But if we hold on, if we do not let go of God even when we cannot feel his presence, if we allow ourselves to be carried by the faithfulness of those who love us, we will find that healing comes. Hope returns. Joy breaks through again, like the first light of dawn after a long, dark night. Naomi's story gives us permission to be honest about our pain. It gives us permission to name our bitterness, to call ourselves Mara when that is how we feel. God does not turn away from our lament. He does not condemn us for our grief. But Naomi's story also gives us hope that bitterness is not the end, that emptiness can be filled, that God is always at work, even when we cannot see it, even when we feel most alone. The transformation of Naomi reminds us that healing is often found in community, in relationships, in the quiet presence of those who refuse to leave us in our darkness. Ruth did not heal Naomi with words. She healed her with presence, with faithfulness, with the steady, unwavering commitment to stay, to work, to love, to show up day after day after day. And slowly, through Ruth's faithfulness, Naomi's heart began to soften. The walls of bitterness began to crumble. The eyes that could only see loss began to see provision. The heart that had hardened in grief began to open again to hope. This is the ministry of presence, beloved. This is the power of simply staying with someone through their darkest season, not trying to rush them through it, not offering easy answers or spiritual platitudes, but simply being there, bearing witness to their pain, holding space for their grief, loving them even when they cannot love themselves. We live in a culture that wants to fix everything quickly, that wants to medicate pain away, to distract ourselves from grief, to skip over the hard parts and get straight to the resolution, the happy ending, the lesson learned. But real healing does not work that way. Real healing takes time. It requires patience. It requires people who are willing to sit with us in the mess, in the questions, in the not knowing. Ruth was willing to sit with Naomi in the mess. And through her willingness, through her faithfulness, redemption came. Not just for Ruth herself, but for Naomi as well. This is the beautiful reciprocity of love, isn't it? Ruth thought she was serving Naomi, providing for her, taking care of her. But in the end, it was through Ruth that Naomi found life again. Through Ruth's faithfulness, Naomi's emptiness was filled. Through Ruth's love, Naomi's bitterness was transformed into blessing. When we love faithfully, when we stay committed to one another through the hard seasons, we never know what God might be doing through us. We might think we are simply showing up, simply doing the next right thing. But God is working through our faithfulness in ways we cannot see. He is using our presence to bring healing, to restore hope, to write stories of redemption. Never underestimate the power of your faithfulness, beloved. Never think that your small acts of love are insignificant. God is using them. He is weaving them into His great tapestry. He is bringing healing and hope through your willingness to stay, to love, to be present. Let us also sit with the image of the threshing floor, for it is rich with symbolism and meaning. The threshing floor was where the grain was separated from the chaff. It was where the wheat was beaten, trampled, winnowed, where the precious seed was extracted from the husks that held it. It was hard work, physical work, work that required strength and endurance and patience. And it was at the threshing floor that Ruth made herself most vulnerable. It was there that she approached Boaz in the middle of the night, uncovered his feet, and asked him to be her redeemer. The threshing floor is a place of separation, of refining, of revealing what is truly valuable and what can be discarded. And in our own lives, beloved, we all go through threshing floor seasons. Seasons where we feel beaten down, trampled, shaken, and winnowed. Seasons where everything that is not essential is stripped away, where we are reduced to our core, where the chaff of our lives, the pretenses, the distractions, the false securities, is blown away by the wind. These seasons are painful. They are disorienting. They make us feel vulnerable and exposed. But they are also necessary, because it is in the threshing that we discover what is truly valuable. It is in the winnowing that we find out what endures. It is in the refining that we become who God has called us to be. Ruth went to the threshing floor not knowing what would happen. She made herself vulnerable. She risked rejection. She placed herself at the feet of Boaz and asked him to cover her, to redeem her, to make her his own. And Boaz responded with kindness, with honor, with a promise to redeem. When we come to God in our vulnerability, when we place ourselves at his feet and say, I have nothing to offer but myself. I am empty. I am broken. I need you to redeem me. He does not turn us away. He does not reject us. He does not shame us for our need. He covers us. He redeems us. He makes us his own. The threshing floor is not a place of punishment. It is a place of transformation. It is where the grain is separated from the chaff so that the bread can be made, so that nourishment can come, so that life can be sustained. Jesus is the bread of life, and he himself was crushed, was beaten, was broken on our behalf. He went through the ultimate threshing so that we could be fed, so that we could have life, so that we could be redeemed. When you find yourself on the threshing floor, beloved, when you feel the weight of the winnowing, the pain of the refining, remember that this is not the end. This is not destruction. This is transformation. God is separating what is precious from what is worthless. He is preparing you for something beautiful. He is making bread out of grain, life out of death, redemption out of brokenness. Trust the process. Trust the threshing. Trust the God who knows exactly what he is doing, who wastes nothing, who uses even the hardest seasons to shape us into the people he has called us to be. There is also something deeply significant about the fact that this story takes place in Bethlehem. Bethlehem, the house of bread, the place where bread is made, where provision comes, where hunger is satisfied. The irony is thick at the beginning of the story. There is famine in the house of bread. The place that should overflow with sustenance is empty, barren, unable to provide. But by the time Ruth arrives, the famine has ended. The house of bread has bread again. The harvest is ready. Provision has returned. And it is in Bethlehem that Ruth is redeemed. It is in the house of bread that she finds a home, a husband, a future. It is in Bethlehem that she gives birth to Obed, who will become the grandfather of David, who will be the ancestor of Jesus. Centuries later, in this same town, in this same house of bread, another child will be born, a child who will himself declare, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Jesus, the bread of life, born in Bethlehem, the house of bread, born in the lineage of Ruth, the gleaner who came to the fields looking for sustenance and found redemption instead. The poetry of it is stunning, beloved. The way God weaves these threads together across centuries, across generations, so that every detail points to Christ, so that every story whispers his name. Ruth did not know that she was participating in the greatest story ever told. She did not know that her faithfulness would become part of the foundation of the Messiah's lineage. She was simply looking for bread, simply trying to survive, simply trusting God one day at a time. But God was writing a story that would feed the world, a story that would satisfy the deepest hunger of every human heart, a story that would bring redemption not just to one woman, not just to one family, but to all of humanity. This is what God does, beloved. He takes our ordinary lives, our small faithfulness, our simple trust, and he weaves them into his grand narrative of redemption. He uses us in ways we cannot imagine. He makes our lives matter in ways that echo through eternity. You may feel like your life is small, like your choices are insignificant, like what you do day to day does not really matter in the grand scheme of things. But beloved, you are wrong. Your life matters infinitely. Your choices ripple out in ways you cannot see. Your faithfulness is woven into the fabric of God's ongoing work in the world. You are part of the story. You are part of the house of bread. You are part of the provision God is making for a hungry world. Never despise the day of small things. Never think that your ordinary faithfulness is not enough. God is using it. He is multiplying it. He is making bread out of it that will feed people you will never meet, in times you will never see, in ways you cannot begin to imagine. Let us reflect now on what it means to be grafted in, to be brought into the family, to be made an heir of the promise. Ruth was a Moabite, by birth, by heritage, by bloodline. She had no claim to the covenant promises of Israel. The Moabites were descendants of Lot, born out of dysfunction and sin. They were often enemies of Israel. They were outside the blessing, outside the promise, outside the family of God. But Ruth chose to come in. She chose to bind herself to Naomi and to Naomi's God. And through that choice, through that act of faith, she was grafted into the family. She was brought into the covenant. She became part of the people of God, and not just part of the people. She became a matriarch. She became an ancestor of kings. She became part of the lineage of the Messiah. This is the scandalous grace of the gospel, beloved. This is the radical inclusivity of God's love. It does not matter where you come from. It does not matter what your heritage is, what your past looks like, what mistakes you have made, what sins you have committed. If you choose to come to God, if you choose to take refuge under His wings, if you choose to say, "Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God," He will receive you. He will welcome you. He will make you His own. The Apostle Paul writes about this in his letter to the Ephesians. He says, "Remember that you were at that time separated from Christ, alienated from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers to the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. But now, in Christ Jesus, you who once were far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ." You were far off. You were outside. You were strangers. But now, in Christ, you have been brought near. You have been grafted in. You are no longer foreigners and strangers, but you are fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God. This is Ruth's story. And this is our story. We were outsiders. We were Moabites, born outside the covenant, with no claim to the promises. But through Christ, through the ultimate kinsman redeemer, we have been brought in. We have been made part of the family. We have been given a name, an inheritance, a future. And not only are we brought in, we are honored. We are valued. We are called children of God, heirs of the promise, co-heirs with Christ. This should astound us, beloved. This should take our breath away, that the God of the universe would reach down into our far-off places, into our outsider status, into our brokenness and sin, and say, "You are mine. Come home. You belong here." Ruth's inclusion in the genealogy of Jesus is a sign to all of us that no one is too far gone, no one is too foreign, no one is too broken to be redeemed. If a Moabite widow can become the great-grandmother of the king of Israel, if she can be grafted into the lineage of the Messiah, then there is hope for all of us. There is a place for all of us. There is room at the table for all of us. There is a home in the Father's house for all of us. No matter who you are, no matter where you have been, no matter what you have done, if you choose to come to God, He will receive you. He will make you His own. He will write you into His story of redemption. Let us also consider the beautiful picture of marriage that we see in Ruth and Boaz. Their marriage is not just a romantic love story, though it is certainly that. It is a picture of covenant love, of committed, sacrificial, redemptive love. Boaz did not marry Ruth because she was convenient. He did not marry her because it was easy, or because it enhanced his reputation, or because she brought wealth or status to the union. He married her because he chose her, because he saw her worth, because he was willing to take on the responsibility of redeeming her, of providing for her, of giving her a future. This is covenant love, beloved. This is the kind of love that does not count the cost, that does not weigh the benefits, that does not calculate what it will gain or lose. This is the kind of love that says, I choose you, I commit to you, I will be faithful to you, come what may. And this is the kind of love that God has for us. It is covenant love. Committed, unbreakable, eternal love. God does not love us because we are lovable. He does not love us because we have something to offer him. He does not love us because we are worthy or because we have earned it, or because we might be useful to him. He loves us because he chooses to love us, because that is who he is, because his very nature is love, and he cannot do otherwise. And his love is not conditional. It is not based on our performance. It is not something we can lose if we mess up or fail or fall short. His love is covenant love. It is the love that bound himself to us in the person of Jesus Christ. The love that said, I will be your God, and you will be my people. I will never leave you or forsake you. Nothing can separate you from my love. This is the love that Boaz showed to Ruth. And this is the love that Jesus shows to us. We are his bride. He is our bridegroom. And he has redeemed us, not with silver or gold, but with his own precious blood. He has made a covenant with us that cannot be broken. He has bound himself to us in a union that will last for all eternity. Let us turn our thoughts now to the theme of quiet strength that runs throughout Ruth's story. Ruth is not a warrior. She is not a prophet. She is not a queen or a leader or a woman of great political power. She is a widow, a gleaner, a foreigner working in the fields, gathering what others have left behind. And yet she is strong, incredibly strong. Her strength is not loud. It is not flashy. It is not the kind of strength that draws attention to itself or demands recognition. It is quiet strength, the kind of strength that shows up day after day, even when no one is watching. The kind of strength that keeps going even when the work is hard and the future is uncertain. The kind of strength that stays loyal even when it would be easier to leave. This is the strength that God honors, beloved. This is the strength that changes the world. Not the strength of force or violence or domination, but the strength of faithfulness, the strength of love, the strength of endurance. Ruth's quiet strength sustained Naomi through her grief. Ruth's quiet strength provided for them both when they had nothing. Ruth's quiet strength opened the door for redemption to come. And in the end, Ruth's quiet strength became part of the lineage of the Messiah. Her faithfulness echoed through generations. Her story inspired countless others to trust God, to stay faithful, to believe that their small acts of obedience matter. Beloved, do not despise your quiet strength. Do not think that because you are not loud or visible or powerful in the world's eyes, you are not making a difference. Your faithfulness is powerful. Your endurance is mighty. Your willingness to keep showing up, to keep loving, to keep trusting. This is the kind of strength that moves the heart of God. This is the kind of strength that builds the kingdom, not with noise and spectacle, but with steady, faithful, daily obedience. Keep going, beloved. Keep staying. Keep trusting. Your quiet strength is changing more than you know. There is a particular beauty in the way Ruth's story honors the work of women. In a world that often values only the loud, the public, the visible forms of labor and leadership. Ruth's story lifts up the work that happens in the shadows, the work of caring for family, the work of providing daily bread, the work of faithfulness in the small, repetitive tasks that make life possible. Ruth gleaned. She bent low in the fields. She gathered grain stalk by stalk, hour after hour, day after day. This was not glamorous work. This was not the kind of work that earns accolades or public recognition. This was humble, back-breaking labor. And yet it was holy work. It was the work that fed her and Naomi. It was the work that brought her into contact with Boaz. It was the work that set the stage for redemption. God sees the work that no one else sees, beloved. He honors the labor that the world overlooks. He values the faithfulness that happens in the hidden places, in the ordinary rhythms of daily life. The mother who wakes in the night with her crying child, the caregiver who tends to the sick and the elderly with patience and tenderness, the friend who listens, who prays, who shows up again and again, even when there is nothing glamorous or exciting about it. The one who works quietly, faithfully, without recognition or reward, simply because it is the right thing to do, the loving thing to do, the faithful thing to do. This is the work that God sees. This is the work that He honors. This is the work that builds the kingdom. Ruth's work in the fields was not separate from her spiritual life. It was not something she did in addition to serving God. Her work was her worship. Her faithfulness in the fields was an expression of her faith in the God of Israel. And beloved, the same is true for us. Our daily work, whatever it is, can be an act of worship. The way we show up, the way we treat others, the way we do even the smallest tasks with integrity and care. All of this matters to God. All of this is holy. You do not have to be in full-time ministry to serve God. You do not have to be a pastor or a missionary or a Bible teacher to make your life count for the kingdom. You can serve God in the fields. You can serve God in the office, in the classroom, in the kitchen, in the hospital, in the factory, in the home, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, if you are doing it faithfully, if you are doing it with love, if you are doing it as unto the Lord, it matters. It counts. It is woven into the great story God is telling. Let us reflect now on the nature of provision and how God provides for His people. Throughout Ruth's story, we see God's provision manifesting in very practical, tangible ways. He does not send manna from heaven for Ruth and Naomi. He does not perform a flashy miracle that solves all their problems in an instant. Instead, He provides through the existing structures He has put in place, through the law that commands the edges of the fields to be left for the poor, through the work of Ruth's own hands, through the kindness of Boaz, through the community of Bethlehem. God's provision is woven into the fabric of ordinary life. It comes through work, through relationship, through the faithfulness of people who honor His commands, through the slow, steady rhythm of sowing and reaping, of gleaning and gathering, of one day following another. This is often how God provides for us as well, beloved, not through dramatic interventions, but through the ordinary channels of life, through the job we work, through the relationships we have, through the community we are part of, through the opportunities that arise when we are faithful with what is in front of us. Sometimes we are waiting for God to do something spectacular when He is already providing in the ordinary. We are looking for the miracle when the miracle is happening right in front of us, in the daily bread, in the work of our hands, in the kindness of others. Ruth could have sat in Naomi's house and waited for God to provide supernaturally. She could have said, if God wants to feed us, He will drop food from heaven. But instead, she went out to the fields. She worked. She used the means of provision that God had already established. And through her faithfulness, through her willingness to work, God provided abundantly. This is the partnership between divine sovereignty and human responsibility. God provides, yes, but He often provides through our willingness to act, to work, to use the means He has given us. He provides the field, but we must go out and glean. He provides the opportunity, but we must take it. He provides the open door, but we must walk through it. Faith is not passive, beloved. Faith does not sit back and wait for God to do everything. Faith steps forward. Faith works. Faith acts on what God has revealed, trusting that He will meet us in our obedience. Ruth had faith that God would provide, and so she went out to the fields and worked. And God, in His faithfulness, ensured that her work bore fruit. He guided her steps to Boaz's field. He moved in Boaz's heart to show her kindness. He orchestrated circumstances so that provision flowed abundantly. But it all began with Ruth's willingness to step out in faith and do the work that was in front of her. What work is in front of you today, beloved? What is the next faithful step you need to take? What opportunity has God already placed before you that you need to reach out and grasp? Do not wait for the spectacular when God is offering you the ordinary. Do not despise the means He has provided because they seem too simple, too mundane, too everyday. Step out, work, trust, and watch how God provides through your faithfulness. There is also something deeply significant about the fact that Ruth's story preserves the importance of rest. Throughout the narrative, we see rhythm, work and rest, gleaning in the fields during the day, returning home in the evening. The rhythm of the harvest season, followed by the time of winnowing, followed by the settling into a new life. Ruth worked hard. She was diligent. She was faithful in her labor. But the story also shows her resting, returning home, being with Naomi, allowing herself to be cared for by Boaz. And ultimately, the entire arc of Ruth's story is moving toward rest. Naomi says it explicitly, "Should I not seek rest for you, that it may be well with you?" Rest, manoach, a settled place, a home, security, peace. This is what God desires for us, beloved. Not just that we work hard, not just that we are productive, but that we find rest, that we come to a place of settledness, of peace, of security in His love. Our culture glorifies busyness. It worships productivity. It tells us that our worth is measured by our output, by how much we accomplish, by how busy we are. But God's economy is different. In God's economy, rest is not laziness. Rest is holy. Rest is commanded. Rest is essential. God Himself rested on the seventh day, not because He was tired, but because He was establishing a rhythm for His creation. Work and rest, effort and Sabbath, productivity and peace. Jesus invites us to rest. He says, "Must come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Rest for your souls. Not just physical rest, though that is important, but soul rest. The deep, settled peace that comes from knowing you are loved, you are secure, you are held by God, and nothing can shake you loose. Ruth found this rest. She found a home with Boaz. She found security, provision, love. She moved from wandering to settledness, from vulnerability to safety, from uncertainty to peace. And beloved, this is what God offers you as well. Rest in His presence. Rest in His love. Rest in the knowledge that you do not have to earn his approval. You do not have to strive to be worthy. You do not have to prove your value. You are already loved. You are already accepted. You are already held secure in the palm of his hand. You can rest. You do not have to keep running. You do not have to keep striving. You do not have to keep proving yourself over and over. You can come home. You can settle. You can exhale and let your shoulders drop and rest in the knowledge that you are loved, you are safe, you are his. This is the rest that Ruth found. And this is the rest that is offered to you today, right now, in this moment. Come and rest, beloved. Come and be still. Come and know that he is God, and he is good, and he has you, and you can rest. Let us also consider the theme of legacy, of how our choices today echo into the future in ways we cannot predict or control. Ruth had no idea that her faithfulness would be remembered thousands of years later. She had no idea that her story would be written in Scripture. She had no idea that she would become the great-grandmother of Israel's greatest king, the ancestor of the Messiah himself. She was simply living one day at a time, simply being faithful with what was in front of her, simply loving Naomi, working in the fields, trusting God with the outcome. But her choices mattered. Her faithfulness created a legacy that outlasted her life by millennia. This is the mystery and the power of living faithfully, beloved. We do not always see the fruit of our labor. We do not always understand how our choices are shaping the future. We cannot predict the ripple effects of our obedience. But God sees, God knows, and God is weaving our faithfulness into something far larger than we can imagine. The choices you make today matter not just for today, but for tomorrow, and next year, and 10 years from now, and 100 years from now. The way you love, the way you serve, the way you trust God in the small moments, all of this is creating a legacy. You are shaping the lives of people you will never meet. You are influencing generations yet unborn. You are writing a story that will echo long after you are gone. And you may never see it. You may never know this side of heaven how God used your faithfulness. But that does not make it any less real, any less significant, any less valuable. Ruth never knew that her name would be spoken with honor by billions of people across thousands of years. But her faithfulness created that legacy. And your faithfulness is creating a legacy as well, beloved. Trust that. Believe that. Live in the confidence that your life matters, that your choices count, that God is using your faithfulness in ways you cannot see. One day, in eternity, you will see the full tapestry. You will see how every thread mattered, how every choice counted, how God wove your faithfulness into his grand design. And you will be amazed at what he did with your ordinary, everyday obedience. As we near the close of our time together, let us sit quietly with the overarching message of Ruth's story, that God is in the business of redemption. This is not just Ruth's story. This is God's story. This is the story of how God redeems, how he restores, how he takes what is broken and makes it beautiful, how he takes what is empty and fills it, how he takes what is ending and gives it a new beginning. Naomi went out full and came back empty, but God did not leave her empty. He filled her again, not with the same things she had lost, but with something new, something unexpected, something beautiful. Ruth was a foreigner, an outsider, with no future and no hope. But God brought her into the family, gave her a home, gave her a husband, gave her a son, made her part of the royal line. Boaz was a man living his life, working his fields, following God's commands. And God used him as an instrument of redemption, allowing him to participate in the great story of salvation. Every character in this story experiences redemption in some way. Every life is touched by the grace of God. Every ending becomes a new beginning. And this is what God does, beloved. This is who He is. He is the Redeemer, the one who makes all things new, the one who takes our losses and transforms them into gains, the one who takes our grief and turns it into joy, the one who takes our endings and writes them into new beginnings. You may feel like your story has reached an ending. You may feel like the best parts are behind you, like the losses are too great, like the emptiness is too deep to be filled. But God is the God of resurrection, the God of new beginnings, the God who brings life out of death, hope out of despair, beauty out of ashes. Your story is not over, beloved. God is still writing. He is still working. He is still redeeming. What feels like an ending may be the beginning of the most beautiful chapter yet. What feels like loss may be making room for something new, something you could never have imagined, something even better than what you had before. Trust Him. Trust the Redeemer. Trust that He is faithful, that He finishes what He starts, that He will not leave you empty or abandoned or forgotten. He sees you. He knows you. He loves you. And He is writing a story of redemption in your life, just as He did in Ruth's life, just as He has done throughout all of history. Let us consider now the beautiful truth that God's redemption often comes through the most unexpected people and the most unlikely circumstances. If you were writing the story of salvation, you probably would not include a Moabite widow as one of the key figures in the lineage of the Messiah. You would choose someone more impressive, more obviously qualified, someone with the right pedigree, the right background, the right credentials. But God delights in choosing the unlikely. He delights in using the weak to shame the strong, the foolish to shame the wise, the outsider to teach the insider what faithfulness looks like. Ruth should not have been part of this story by human standards. She was a woman in a patriarchal society. She was a widow with no status or security. She was a foreigner from a despised people. She was poor, vulnerable, dependent on the charity of others. Everything about her circumstances screamed insignificance. And yet God chose her. God saw her. God wrote her into the most important genealogy in human history. This should give us tremendous hope, beloved, because it means that no one is too small, too insignificant, too broken, too far outside the expected paths to be used by God. If He can use Ruth, He can use you. If He can take a Moabite widow and make her the great-grandmother of kings, He can take your life, whatever it looks like right now, however broken or messy or ordinary it seems, and weave it into something beautiful, something significant, something that matters for eternity. God is not limited by our limitations. He is not hindered by our past. He is not constrained by our lack of resources or status or credentials. He simply asks for our availability, our willingness, our yes. Ruth said yes. Yes to Naomi. Yes to the God of Israel. Yes to the uncertain journey. Yes to the hard work. Yes to vulnerability. Yes to trust. And God took that yes and multiplied it, expanded it, used it to change the course of history. What is God asking you to say yes to today, beloved? What invitation is He extending that seems too small, too insignificant, too unlikely to matter? Say yes. Step forward. Trust that He sees what you cannot see, that He knows what you do not know, that He is working through your ordinary obedience in ways that will echo through eternity. You do not need to be impressive. You do not need to have it all figured out. You do not need to be perfect or polished or powerful. You just need to be willing. You just need to say yes. You just need to take the next step in faith, trusting that God will meet you there. Ruth's story also teaches us about the importance of intergenerational relationships, of older and younger generations learning from one another, supporting one another, walking together. The relationship between Ruth and Naomi is at the heart of this story. A young woman and an older woman, a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law. Two people from different generations, different backgrounds, different life experiences, choosing to walk together through the hard places. Naomi had wisdom. She knew the customs, the laws, the ways of her people. She understood how redemption worked. She knew who Boaz was and what his responsibilities were. And she used her wisdom to guide Ruth, to help her navigate an unfamiliar culture, to position her for blessing. Ruth had strength and energy. She could work in the fields. She could provide for them both. She had the courage to step out, to take risks, to do the bold thing when Naomi suggested it. Together, they were stronger than either of them could have been alone. Naomi's wisdom combined with Ruth's strength created something powerful, something beautiful, something redemptive. We need each other, beloved. We need the wisdom of those who have walked the road before us. We need the energy and passion and fresh perspective of those who are just beginning the journey. The church is meant to be intergenerational. The family of God is meant to include the old and the young, the experienced and the inexperienced, the seasoned saints and the new believers. We are meant to learn from one another, to support one another, to honor one another. The young need the wisdom and perspective that only comes from years of walking with God. The old need the energy and hope and fresh vision that the young bring. Ruth and Naomi show us what this can look like. Not a relationship of competition or resentment, but a relationship of mutual love, mutual respect, mutual support. Ruth honored Naomi. She listened to her counsel. She trusted her wisdom. She did not dismiss her because she was old or grieving or seemingly broken. And Naomi honored Ruth. She saw her worth. She sought her good. She used her wisdom to bless Ruth, to help her find rest and security and a future. This is the beauty of intergenerational community, beloved. This is what the church is meant to be. A place where the generations come together, where we learn from one another, where we walk together through all the seasons of life. Do not isolate yourself with only people your own age. Do not surround yourself only with people who see the world exactly as you do. Seek out relationships that span the generations. Learn from those who are older. Pour into those who are younger. Walk together. Support one another. Let the wisdom of age combine with the passion of youth to create something beautiful, something powerful, something redemptive. Let us reflect now on the theme of providence, the quiet, often hidden work of God, orchestrating circumstances, guiding steps, arranging encounters, weaving all things together for good. Providence is all over Ruth's story, though it is never explicitly mentioned. God does not speak directly to any of the characters. There are no angelic visitations, no burning bushes, no audible voices from heaven. And yet God is present on every page, working quietly behind the scenes, arranging everything for redemption. Ruth happened to come to Boaz's field, but of course, it was not really chance. It was providence. Boaz happened to come from Bethlehem that day to visit his workers, to notice Ruth. But again, not really chance. Providence. The nearer kinsman happened to be unwilling to redeem, making way for Boaz to step in. Providence. The timing of Ruth's arrival in Bethlehem, right at the beginning of the harvest. Perfect timing. Providence. Every detail, every encounter, every circumstance, all of it guided by the unseen hand of God, working all things together for good, for redemption, for the unfolding of His perfect plan. This is how God works in our lives as well, beloved. Not always with loud miracles or dramatic interventions, but with quiet providence, with the gentle guidance of circumstances, with the orchestration of encounters that seem like coincidence, but are actually divine appointments. You meet someone at just the right time. You hear something you needed to hear. A door opens that you did not expect. An opportunity arises. A relationship forms. A solution appears. And you might be tempted to call it luck or chance or coincidence. But beloved, in the life of a believer, there are no coincidences. There is only providence. God is working. God is guiding. God is arranging. Even when you cannot see Him, even when you cannot feel Him, even when it seems like you are just stumbling through life making random choices, He is there. He is leading. He is orchestrating. Ruth did not know she was being guided to Boaz's field. She thought she was just choosing a place to glean, but God knew. God was leading her steps, even when she did not realize it. And God is leading your steps as well, beloved. He is guiding you, even when you do not see it. He is working in the background, arranging circumstances, opening doors, closing others, bringing people into your life, moving pieces on the chessboard in ways you cannot perceive. Trust His providence. Trust that He is at work. Trust that nothing is wasted, nothing is random, nothing is outside His sovereign care. Your life is not a series of random events. Your story is not chaos. You are held in the hand of a God who knows the beginning from the end, who works all things together for good, who is writing a story of redemption in your life. Trust Him. Trust His providence. Trust that He is leading you, even when the path is unclear, even when you cannot see where you are going. He knows, He sees, He is guiding, and He will bring you exactly where you need to be at exactly the right time. Let us turn our attention now to the nature of humility, which Ruth embodies so beautifully throughout this story. Ruth is humble. She does not presume. She does not demand. She does not act entitled or expect special treatment. When Boaz shows her kindness, she falls on her face and asks, "Why have I found favor in your eyes, that you should take notice of me, since I am a foreigner?" She does not take his kindness for granted. She does not act as if she deserves it. She receives it with gratitude and wonder. When Naomi instructs her to go to the threshing floor, Ruth could have pushed back. She could have said, "That's too risky. That's too vulnerable. What if he rejects me? What if people misunderstand?" But she does not argue. She does not resist. She simply says, "All that you say I will do." When she approaches Boaz at the threshing floor, she does not demand or manipulate or scheme. She humbly asks him to spread his wing over her, to redeem her according to the law. And when Boaz praises her, calling her a worthy woman, she does not become proud or boastful. She remains humble, grateful, reverent. Humility is one of the most beautiful and most misunderstood virtues, beloved. Our culture often confuses humility with weakness, with self-deprecation, with thinking less of yourself. But true humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. It is being so secure in who you are in God that you do not need to constantly prove yourself, defend yourself, promote yourself. True humility is freedom. freedom from the exhausting work of self-promotion, freedom from the constant need to be noticed, to be validated, to be affirmed by others. True humility allows you to receive kindness with gratitude rather than suspicion, to serve without needing recognition, to follow God's leading without needing to understand all the reasons why, to submit to wise counsel without feeling threatened or diminished. Ruth was free, free from pride, free from the need to be in control, free to receive, to trust, to follow, to wait. And her humility opened the door for blessing. Boaz noticed her humility. He honored her for it. It was part of what made her a woman of worth in his eyes. God honors humility, beloved. He resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. He lifts up those who humble themselves. He exalts those who are willing to take the low place, to serve, to put others first. If you want to walk in the blessing of God, if you want to experience his favor and his grace, cultivate humility. Choose the low place. Receive kindness with gratitude. Serve without needing recognition. Follow God's leading without needing to understand everything. Let go of your need to be in control, to be noticed, to be validated by others. Find your security in God alone. Know who you are in him, and let that be enough. This is the path of humility. This is the path that Ruth walked, and it is the path that leads to blessing, to favor, to redemption. As we continue to sit with this story, let us reflect on the theme of waiting. Ruth's story is full of waiting. Waiting through the harvest season. Waiting for Boaz to resolve the matter of redemption. Waiting for God's plan to unfold in his timing. And for Naomi, the waiting was even longer. She waited through years of loss, years of grief, years of not knowing if hope would ever return. Waiting is hard, beloved. It goes against everything in our nature. We want answers now. We want resolution now. We want to see how the story ends now. But God's timing is not our timing. His ways are not our ways. And often, he asks us to wait in faith, to wait in trust, to wait with patience and perseverance and hope. The waiting is not wasted time. The waiting is not God being slow or forgetful or uncaring. The waiting is often where the most important work is happening, not in our circumstances, but in our hearts. In the waiting, we learn to trust. In the waiting, we learn to surrender control. In the waiting, we learn that God is enough, even when we do not have the answers we want. Ruth waited through the entire harvest season before anything happened with Boaz. She could have grown impatient. She could have tried to force something to happen. She could have given up and gone back to Moab. But she waited. She worked. She trusted. She let God's plan unfold in his timing. And when the time was right, when everything was in place, redemption came. Not a moment too soon. Not a moment too late. Right on time. Beloved, if you are in a season of waiting, take heart. God has not forgotten you. He is not slow. He is not indifferent to your situation. He is working. He is preparing. He is aligning all the pieces. And when the time is right, when everything is ready, he will move. He will answer. He will bring about the redemption he has promised. Your job is not to force it. Your job is not to figure it all out. Your job is simply to wait with faith, to trust with patience, to keep showing up and doing the next right thing, knowing that God is faithful and he will complete the work he has begun in you. Wait on the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait on the Lord. The waiting that Ruth and Naomi endured teaches us something else as well, that God's delays are not God's denials. How many times do we interpret God's silence as his absence? How many times do we mistake his patience for his apathy? How many times do we think that because we do not see him working, he must not be working at all? But beloved, God is always working, even in the silence, even in the waiting, even when we cannot perceive any movement at all. He's working beneath the surface, like seeds germinating in the dark soil. He is working in the hearts of people we have not even met yet. He is working in circumstances we cannot see. He is arranging, preparing, orchestrating. Ruth could not see that Boaz was already noticing her, already asking about her, already preparing in his heart to be her redeemer. She could not see that the nearer kinsman would decline his right. She could not see that everything was falling into place exactly as it needed to. She could only see the grain she gathered each day, the work of her hands, the slow progress of one day following another. But God saw it all, God knew it all, and God was working through it all. When you are in the waiting, beloved, remember this: God is not absent, he is not asleep. He is not indifferent to your pain or your questions or your longing. He is working in ways you cannot see, in places you cannot reach, in the hearts of people you may not even know, in the timing that is perfect, even when it does not feel perfect to you. Trust him in the waiting. Trust that his delays are purposeful. Trust that he knows what he is doing, even when you do not. The waiting is hard, but the waiting is not empty. It is full of his presence, his faithfulness, his quiet work that will one day be revealed. There is also something to be said about the way Ruth's story honors grief without rushing through it. Naomi's grief is real. It is named. It is given space. She is allowed to call herself Mara, to name her bitterness, to speak her pain out loud. The story does not rush to correct her theology or to shame her for her feelings. It does not say, you should have more faith, or you should be more grateful, or you should trust God more. It simply lets her grieve. It honors the weight of what she has lost. It makes space for her sorrow. And slowly, through Ruth's faithfulness and God's provision, hope begins to return. The bitterness begins to ease. The emptiness begins to be filled. But it takes time. It is not instantaneous. It is a process. This is so important for us to understand, beloved. Grief is not something to be rushed through or gotten over quickly. Grief is a journey. It has its own timeline. It cannot be hurried. And God meets us in our grief. He does not condemn us for it. He does not scold us for not being more joyful or more faithful or more positive. He sits with us in it. He weeps with us. He holds space for our pain. Jesus wept at the tomb of Lazarus, even though he knew he was about to raise him from the dead. He did not say, "Why are you crying? Don't you know I'm about to fix this?" He wept. He honored the grief. He made space for the sorrow. And he does the same for you, beloved. He is not distant from your pain. He is not uncomfortable with your tears. He is not waiting impatiently for you to get over it and move on. He is with you in it. He is holding you through it. He is gentle and compassionate and infinitely patient as you walk through the valley. Give yourself permission to grieve what you have lost. Do not rush yourself. Do not let others rush you. Do not feel like you have to be further along than you are. Grief is not a sign of weak faith. Grief is a sign of deep love. It is a sign that you have lost something precious, something that mattered, something that cannot simply be replaced or forgotten. Honor your grief, beloved. Let it have its time. Let it run its course. And trust that, like Naomi, there will come a day when the bitterness begins to ease, when hope begins to return. when you can see God's hand at work again. But that day cannot be rushed. It will come in its own time. And until then, God is with you. He is holding you. He is faithful even in your grief. Let us also consider the community aspect of Ruth's story, the way the people of Bethlehem rallied around this family, the way the elders bore witness to the redemption, the way the women celebrated with Naomi when Obed was born. Redemption does not happen in isolation. It happens in community. Ruth did not redeem herself. Boaz redeemed her, yes. But even that redemption took place in the context of community. It was witnessed by the elders. It was confirmed by the people at the gate. It was celebrated by the women of Bethlehem. We need each other, beloved. We need community. We need people who will witness our stories, who will celebrate our victories, who will support us through our struggles. The Christian life was never meant to be lived alone. We are not isolated individuals trying to make it on our own. We are part of a body. We are members one of another. We belong to each other. In community, our joy is multiplied. Our sorrow is divided. Our burdens are shared. Our hope is strengthened. The women of Bethlehem did not stand at a distance from Naomi's story. They engaged with it. They asked questions. They celebrated her return. They rejoiced when redemption came. They held the baby and declared that God had not left her without a redeemer. This is what healthy community does. It enters into one another's stories. It rejoices with those who rejoice and weeps with those who weep. It bears witness to what God is doing. It speaks truth and blessing and hope. If you are trying to walk this journey of faith alone, beloved, I want to gently encourage you to open yourself to community, to take the risk of being known, to let people into your story. It is vulnerable, yes. It is scary, yes. There is always the risk of being hurt or disappointed or misunderstood. But the risk is worth it, because we were made for community. We were made to walk together, to support one another, to bear one another's burdens, to encourage one another, to celebrate together and grieve together and hope together. Find your people, beloved. Find a community where you can be known and loved and supported. Find people who will witness your story, who will speak truth to you, who will celebrate with you when redemption comes. You need them, and they need you. We are better together. We are stronger together. We are more whole together. Do not walk alone. Walk in community. Walk with others who are also seeking to follow God, to trust Him, to live faithfully day by day. As we draw closer to the end of our meditation, let us reflect on the ultimate hope that Ruth's story points us toward. The hope of the Messiah, the hope of Jesus Christ, the ultimate kinsman redeemer. Ruth's story is beautiful on its own, but it becomes even more beautiful when we see it as part of the larger story of redemption that God has been writing throughout all of history. Ruth, the Moabite widow, becomes part of the lineage of David, and from David's line comes Jesus, the Son of David, the King of Kings, the Savior of the world. Jesus is the ultimate fulfillment of everything we see, foreshadowed in Boaz. Boaz redeemed Ruth. Jesus redeems us. Boaz paid a price to bring Ruth into his family. Jesus paid the ultimate price, his own life, to bring us into the family of God. Boaz saw Ruth's worth when others saw only a foreign gleaner. Jesus sees our worth when the world sees only sinners, only broken people, only failures. Boaz went beyond the law to show extravagant kindness. Jesus went beyond anything the law could require to show us extravagant grace. Boaz said, "As the Lord lives, I will redeem you." Jesus said, "It is finished," sealing our redemption with his own blood. Ruth came to the threshing floor vulnerable, empty-handed, asking to be covered. We come to Jesus the same way, vulnerable, broken, empty-handed, asking him to cover us with his righteousness. And just as Boaz did not turn Ruth away, Jesus does not turn us away. He receives us, he covers us, he redeems us. He makes us his own. This is the gospel, beloved. This is the good news that Ruth's story whispers to us across the centuries. You are seen, you are valued, you are loved, and there is a Redeemer who has already paid the price for you, who has already secured your future, who has already made a place for you in his family. You do not have to earn it. You cannot earn it. It is a gift. It is grace. It is freely given to all who will come, who will trust, who will say yes to the Redeemer. Jesus is your kinsman redeemer, beloved. He became your kinsman by taking on flesh, by entering into your story, by becoming one of you. And he redeemed you by giving his life as a ransom for yours. He has covered you with his righteousness. He has given you his name. He has made you part of his family forever. This is your story, beloved. You are Ruth. You are the one who was far off, who was outside, who had no claim to the promises. But through Christ, you have been brought near. You have been redeemed. You have been given a future and a hope. And just as Ruth's story became part of the lineage of the Messiah, your story is now part of the ongoing work of redemption in the world. You are part of the family. You are part of the kingdom. You are part of the great story God is writing. This is your identity. This is your security. This is your hope. Not because of who you are or what you have done, but because of who he is and what he has done for you. Rest in that, beloved. Let that truth sink deep into your heart. You are redeemed. You are loved. You are his. As we come toward the close of this long meditation, let us breathe deeply once more. Let us allow the truth of Ruth's story and our own story of redemption to settle into the deepest places of our hearts. We have walked slowly through this ancient story, lingering over its details, sitting with its themes, allowing it to speak to us in the quiet. We have seen Ruth's loyalty, her faith, her quiet strength. We have seen Naomi's journey from bitterness to blessing. We have seen Boaz's kindness, his generosity, his willingness to redeem. And through it all, we have seen the hand of God, quiet, faithful, steadfast, working all things together for good, weaving redemption out of loss, writing hope into the midst of grief. This is the story of God's heart toward his people. This is the story of how he sees us, loves us, pursues us, redeems us. And this is your story, beloved. You are part of this great narrative of redemption. You are seen. You are known. You are loved beyond measure. Whatever you are walking through right now, whether it is grief or waiting, whether it is struggle or uncertainty, whether it is the hard work of faithfulness in the ordinary, know that God is with you. He has not forgotten you. He has not abandoned you. He is working in ways you cannot see, writing a story you cannot yet read, preparing blessings you cannot yet imagine. Trust him. Trust his timing. Trust his faithfulness. Keep showing up. Keep doing the next right thing. Keep gleaning in the field, day after day, trusting that he will provide. And one day, beloved, one day you will see. You will see how every thread mattered, how every choice counted, how God was weaving something beautiful all along. One day you will stand in his presence, and he will show you the fullness of what he was doing, and you will be overwhelmed by his goodness, by his faithfulness, by the perfect beauty of the story he was writing. But until that day comes, Walk by faith. Walk in trust. Walk in the knowledge that you are loved, you are held, you are His. Let us pause here and simply rest in the presence of God. Breathe in slowly, hold it for just a moment, and release. You have been listening for a long time now, beloved. You have been walking with me through the fields of Bethlehem, through the story of Ruth, through the quiet unfolding of redemption. And I pray that something in this story has touched you, has spoken to the places in your own heart that need to hear the voice of God. Perhaps you are like Ruth, standing at a crossroads, deciding whether to stay or to go, deciding whether to trust God with an uncertain future, or to return to what is familiar, what is safe, what is known. If that is you, beloved, may Ruth's courage inspire your own. May her simple declaration, "Where you go, I will go. Your God will be my God," echo in your heart and give you the strength to say yes to whatever God is calling you toward. You do not need to see the whole path. You do not need to have all the answers. You only need to take the next step, to say yes to today, to trust that God will meet you there. Or perhaps you are like Naomi, returning from a season of loss, feeling empty, calling yourself bitter, unable to see how God could possibly redeem what has been broken in your life. If that is you, beloved, may Naomi's transformation give you hope. May you see that God did not leave her in her bitterness, that He slowly, gently, faithfully filled her emptiness with goodness she could not have imagined. Your grief is real, your pain is valid, but it is not the end of your story. God is still writing, He is still working, and one day you will hold joy in your arms again. Or perhaps you are like Boaz, living faithfully, day by day, following God's commands, being generous and kind, not knowing how God might use you in someone else's story of redemption. If that is you, beloved, may you be encouraged to keep going. Keep being faithful. Keep being generous. Keep looking for ways to go beyond the law into the realm of grace. You never know when your kindness might change someone's life forever. Wherever you are in your journey, beloved, know that this story is for you. God is speaking to you through it. He is inviting you deeper into trust, deeper into faithfulness, deeper into His love. There is one more theme I want us to sit with before we close, and it is the theme of hiddenness. Ruth's story, for all its beauty, is a hidden story. It takes place in a small town during a chaotic time in Israel's history. It involves ordinary people doing ordinary things, gleaning grain, winnowing at the threshing floor, making legal arrangements at the city gate. There are no grand battles, no prophetic visions, no spectacular miracles. It is a story told in whispers, in the quiet rhythms of daily life. And yet this hidden story becomes part of the lineage of kings. This small, ordinary narrative becomes woven into the most important genealogy in human history. This is the paradox of the kingdom of God, beloved. The hidden things matter most. The small things are the big things. The ordinary faithfulness is the extraordinary offering. Jesus spoke about this often. He talked about seeds buried in the ground, invisible to the eye but full of life. He talked about yeast hidden in dough, working silently to make the whole batch rise. He talked about treasures hidden in fields, pearls of great price that must be sought out. The kingdom of God is hidden. It works beneath the surface. It grows in secret. It operates in ways the world cannot see or measure or understand. And your faithfulness, beloved, your quiet obedience, your hidden acts of love and service and trust, these matter to God. They are building His kingdom. They are writing His story. You may feel like your life is hidden, Like what you do does not matter because no one sees it, no one notices it, no one celebrates it. But God sees, God notices. God celebrates every small act of faithfulness, every quiet choice to trust, every hidden sacrifice made in love. Ruth's life was hidden. She was a gleaner in the fields, unknown, unnoticed by most. But God saw her, and he wrote her into his story in a way that has echoed through millennia. Your life is not insignificant, beloved, no matter how hidden it feels. Your faithfulness matters. Your obedience counts. Your love makes a difference. God is writing your story even when no one else can read it. He is weaving your faithfulness into his great tapestry, even when you cannot see the pattern. Do not despise the hiddenness. Do not long for visibility or recognition or applause. Find your joy in serving an audience of one. Find your satisfaction in knowing that he sees, he knows, he remembers. And one day, what is hidden will be revealed. One day, you will see how God used your faithfulness. One day, the tapestry will be turned over, and you will see the beautiful picture that was being woven all along through your ordinary everyday obedience. Let us also reflect on the gift of second chapters, of new beginnings, of God's ability to write beauty after tragedy. Ruth's first marriage ended in death. Her first chapter closed with grief and loss. By all worldly standards, her story should have ended there, a young widow in a foreign land with no prospects, no future, no hope. But God wrote a second chapter, a chapter more beautiful than the first, a chapter that brought redemption not only to Ruth but to Naomi, to Boaz, to generations yet unborn. Naomi's first chapter ended with the loss of her husband and both her sons. She returned to Bethlehem calling herself empty, bitter, forsaken. But God wrote a second chapter, a chapter where she held a grandson in her arms, where the women of the town declared her blessed, where she became a nurturer of the line that would lead to the Messiah. Beloved, if your first chapter has ended in pain, in loss, in disappointment, in shattered dreams, please hear this. God is the God of second chapters. He is the God who makes all things new. The God who brings beauty from ashes, joy from mourning, praise from despair. The God who resurrects. The God who redeems. Your story is not over. The chapter that is closed is not the end of the book. God is still writing. He is turning the page even now, preparing to write something new, something beautiful, something redemptive. Do not let your past define your future. Do not let your losses convince you that there is nothing left to hope for. God specializes in second chapters, in new beginnings, in taking what seems ended and breathing new life into it. Abraham and Sarah had a second chapter in their old age, a promised son when it seemed impossible. Moses had a second chapter after 40 years in the wilderness, a calling that changed the course of history. David had a second chapter after his devastating sin, restoration, forgiveness, continued blessing. Peter had a second chapter after denying Jesus 3 times, reinstatement, commissioning, a ministry that changed the world. And you, beloved, you can have a second chapter too. You can have a new beginning. You can have a story that does not end with the pain, but moves through it into something beautiful on the other side. Trust God with your second chapter. Let Him write it. Let Him surprise you with His goodness, His creativity, His ability to redeem even the most broken stories. Your best days are not necessarily behind you. Your greatest joys may still be ahead. Your most meaningful work might be yet to come. God is not done with you. He is not done with your story. He is turning the page, picking up the pen, preparing to write the next chapter. And it will be beautiful, beloved. It will be redemptive. It will be a testament to his faithfulness, his goodness, his love. As we draw near to the close of this meditation, I want to speak a word of blessing over you, beloved. May you walk in the footsteps of Ruth, with loyalty that does not waver, with faith that does not give up, with quiet strength that shows up day after day, even when the road is hard. May you know the provision of God, the way he meets your needs through ordinary channels, through the work of your hands, through the kindness of others, through the quiet rhythm of sowing and reaping. May you experience the kindness of a Boaz, people who see you, who honor you, who go beyond what is required to bless you with extravagant generosity. May you know the transformation of Naomi, from bitterness to blessing, from emptiness to fullness, from grief to joy. May you see that God has not forgotten you, that he is filling what felt empty, that he is writing redemption into your story. May you trust the providence of God, the way he guides your steps even when you do not realize it, the way he orchestrates circumstances, the way he works all things together for good. May you rest in the redemption of Christ, your ultimate kinsman redeemer, who has paid the price, who has covered you with his righteousness, who has made you part of his family forever. May you live with hope, not the fragile, circumstantial hope that depends on everything going well, but the deep, anchored hope that is rooted in the character of God, in his faithfulness, in his promises that cannot fail. May you embrace the hiddenness, knowing that your quiet faithfulness matters, that your ordinary obedience is building the kingdom, that what you do in secret is seen and honored by God. May you trust the waiting, knowing that God's timing is perfect, that his delays are not denials, that he is working even when you cannot see it. May you open yourself to community, finding people who will walk with you, who will witness your story, who will rejoice with you and weep with you and hope with you. And may you live in the knowledge that your story is not over, that God is still writing, that there are second chapters, new beginnings, redemptions yet to unfold. You are loved, beloved. You are seen. You are held. You are his. And that will never change. Let us rest in silence for a moment now. Let the word settle. Let the truth sink deep. Let your heart be still before the God who loves you, who sees you, who is writing your story with infinite care and infinite love. Breathe, be still, be held. You are safe here. You are loved here. You are home. And now, as we prepare to close this time together, let me pray over you, beloved. Gracious and faithful God, we come before you now with hearts full of gratitude. Thank you for the story of Ruth. Thank you for the way it reveals your heart, your kindness toward the foreigner, your provision for the widow, your redemption for the broken. Thank you for Ruth's faithfulness, for the way she shows us what it means to choose loyalty over comfort, to choose trust over fear, to choose you, even when the path is uncertain. Thank you for Naomi's transformation, for the way her story reminds us that bitterness is not the end, that emptiness can be filled, that you are always at work even when we cannot see it. Thank you for Boaz's generosity, for the way he reflects your heart of extravagant grace, going beyond what is required, seeing worth in the overlooked, redeeming the vulnerable. And thank you, most of all, for Jesus, our ultimate kinsman redeemer, who saw us in our brokenness and paid the ultimate price to bring us into your family forever. Lord, we pray for each person who has walked through this story with us tonight. You know where they are. You know what they are facing. You know the griefs they carry, the questions they hold, the fears that wake them in the night. Meet them there, Lord. Meet them in their Ruth moments, when they are deciding whether to stay or to go, whether to trust or to turn back. Give them courage to say yes to you, to take the next step in faith. Meet them in their Naomi moments, when they feel empty and bitter and forgotten. Remind them that you have not abandoned them, that you are slowly, faithfully, gently filling their emptiness with your goodness. Meet them in their Boaz moments, when they are trying to live faithfully, trying to be generous, trying to honor you in the ordinary rhythms of life. Encourage them to keep going, to keep trusting that their faithfulness matters. Lord, help us to trust your providence. Help us to believe that you are guiding our steps, even when we cannot see where we are going. Help us to rest in your timing, to wait with patience, to know that you are working all things together for good. Help us to live with humility, with gratitude, with quiet strength. Help us to show up day after day, to be faithful with what is in front of us, to trust you with the outcome. And help us to remember that we are yours, that we are redeemed, that we are loved beyond measure, that nothing can separate us from your love. May we rest in that truth tonight and every night. May we wake each morning knowing that we are held by you, that we are safe in your hands, that our story is being written by the author of all stories, and it is good. We love you, Lord. We trust you. We give you our lives, our stories, our futures. Write what you will. We are yours. In the name of Jesus, our Redeemer, our King, our hope. Amen. And now, beloved, as we come to the end of this long meditation, as we prepare to step back into the world, into the responsibilities and rhythms of your life, I want to leave you with this blessing. May you go in peace. May you carry with you the quiet strength of Ruth, the woman who chose loyalty over comfort, who chose faith over fear, who simply showed up day after day, trusting that God would provide. May you carry with you the hope of Naomi, who discovered that emptiness can be filled, that bitterness can be transformed, that God's kindness never forsakes us, even in our darkest seasons. May you carry with you the generous heart of Boaz, who went beyond what was required, who saw the overlooked, who participated in God's work of redemption with gladness and grace. May you walk through your days knowing that you are seen by God, that your faithfulness matters, that your ordinary obedience is building something eternal, that your hidden life is not insignificant, but precious in His sight. May you trust the providence of God, the way He leads your steps, even when you cannot see the path. May you rest in His timing, knowing that His delays are not denials, that He is always working, always weaving, always writing redemption into your story. May you open your hands to receive His grace. May you open your heart to His love. May you open your life to His leading, wherever He may take you. May you know deep in your bones that you are redeemed, that you have been brought near, that you are no longer a foreigner or a stranger, but a beloved child of God, an heir of the promise, a member of His family forever. May you live with hope, not the fragile hope that depends on circumstances, but the anchored hope that is rooted in the character of God, in His faithfulness that never fails, in His love that never ends. And may you rest, beloved. May you find the rest that Naomi sought for Ruth, the rest that is not just physical, but soul deep, the rest that comes from knowing you are loved, you are held, you are safe in the arms of God. You do not have to strive anymore. You do not have to earn your place. You do not have to prove your worth. You are already loved. You are already accepted. You are already home. So rest, beloved. Rest in His presence. Rest in His love. Rest in the knowledge that He is faithful, that He will complete the work He has begun in you, that your story is held securely in His hands. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace. Go now in the love of Christ, in the power of the Spirit, in the faithfulness of the Father. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are deeply, eternally, infinitely loved. And that, beloved, is enough. That is more than enough. That is everything. Be at peace, beloved. Rest well, and may the story of Ruth continue to speak to your heart, to strengthen your faith, to remind you that God is always at work, always faithful, always writing redemption into the most unexpected places. You are part of that story now. You are part of the great narrative of God's love for His people. Walk forward with courage. Walk forward with hope. Walk forward knowing that you are held. And may you sleep tonight, wrapped in the wings of the God who sees you, who knows you, who loves you beyond measure. Amen and amen. Breathe deeply now, beloved. Let your body relax. Let your mind settle. Let your spirit rest. You have walked a long journey tonight, through the fields of Bethlehem, through the story of a woman who chose faithfulness, through the heart of a God who redeems. And now it is time to rest. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Feel the weight of your body sinking into whatever surface holds you. Let your breathing slow and deepen. Let the tension release from your shoulders, from your jaw, from your hands. You are safe. You are held. You are loved. And as you drift toward sleep, may you dream of barley fields golden in the sun, of quiet strength that shows up day after day, of kindness that goes beyond what is required, of a Redeemer who covers you with His wings. May you wake tomorrow knowing that God is with you, that He is guiding your steps, that He is writing your story with infinite care and infinite love. You are His beloved, and He is yours. Rest now, rest well, rest in His love. The story of Ruth reminds us that even in the smallest, most ordinary lives, God is weaving something magnificent. That faithfulness in the hidden places matters. That loyalty and love and quiet strength change the world. Ruth could not have known, as she bent low in the barley fields day after day, that she was participating in the greatest story ever told. She could not have known that her name would be spoken with reverence thousands of years later. She could not have known that her faithfulness would become part of the lineage of the Messiah Himself. She only knew that she had to show up, that she had to be faithful with today, that she had to trust God with tomorrow, and that was enough. It is enough for you too, beloved. You do not need to see the whole picture. You do not need to understand how all the pieces fit together. You do not need to know how your story will end. You only need to be faithful with today, to take the next step, to do the next right thing, to trust that God is working, even when you cannot see it. He is weaving your faithfulness into something beautiful. He is writing your story into His grand narrative of redemption. He is using your ordinary, everyday obedience to build His kingdom. Trust Him, beloved. Trust the process. Trust the journey. Trust that He who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. You're exactly where you need to be. You are walking the path He has set before you, and He is with you every step of the way. Do not be afraid. Do not lose heart. Do not give up. Keep showing up. Keep being faithful. Keep trusting. Keep loving. And one day, beloved, one day you will see. You will see how every thread mattered, how every choice counted, how God was weaving something beautiful all along. Until that day comes, rest in this. You are seen, you are known, you are loved, and nothing, not grief, not loss, not uncertainty, not fear, nothing can separate you from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. Sleep now, beloved. Let your mind be still. Let your heart be at peace. Let your soul rest in the arms of the God who never sleeps, who never slumbers, who watches over you with infinite tenderness and care. You are safe. You are loved. You are His. And tomorrow, when you wake, you will find Him still there, still faithful, still holding you, still writing your story with love. Rest now, rest well, and may the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, guard your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus. Amen. Beloved, this is where our journey together ends for tonight. We have walked slowly through the fields of Bethlehem. We have sat with Ruth in her faithfulness, with Naomi in her grief, with Boaz in his kindness. We have seen the quiet unfolding of redemption, the patient work of God, the beauty of loyalty and love. May this story continue to speak to you in the days ahead. May it remind you that your faithfulness matters, that your life is woven into God's great story, that redemption is always possible, that God is always at work. And may you walk forward with the confidence that you are held, you are loved, you are His. Go in peace, beloved. Rest in His love. And may you wake tomorrow with hope renewed, strength restored, and faith deepened. You are not alone. You never have been. You never will be. The God who redeemed Ruth redeems you still, and His faithfulness endures forever. Be still now. Breathe. Rest. You are home. Beloved friend, thank you for walking this journey with me tonight. Thank you for giving these hours to sit with this ancient story, to let it speak to your heart, to allow God to meet you in the stillness. I pray that Ruth's story has become more than just words to you. I pray it has become a mirror in which you see your own story reflected, a window through which you see God's heart more clearly, a door through which you step into deeper trust, deeper hope, deeper love. May you carry these truths with you, that you are seen by God, that your faithfulness matters, that redemption is always possible, that God is always at work, even when you cannot see it, that you are loved beyond measure, that your story is not over, and that the same God who redeemed Ruth, who transformed Naomi, who worked through Boaz, that same God is with you right now, in this moment, holding you, guiding you, writing your story with infinite care and infinite love. Go now in peace, rest in His presence, and may you wake with renewed hope, knowing that God is faithful, that He finishes what He starts, that He will bring to completion the good work He has begun in you. You are His, beloved, and He is yours, forever. Amen.